or less.
Okay. Yeah, with your boy PSA Sitch here with an early Tuesday stream. What the heck? We're starting an hour early. Oh my God. Here with everyone's favorite early bird gets the comic book,
What's
Adam
up?
Herndon.
Yeah, only 2 years late, but whatever. This hour early, I think that makes up for it to some extent, right? Look, this makes up for all the times this adds up, right? We're 5 minutes late here, we're 15 minutes late here. This is
Oh
like,
my God, you're right. If we just start streams like an hour early every time, we'll eventually make up for all the times we started a little late.
yeah,
That's true. I like it.
perfect. And we're
That's a
here
good
You
point.
with,
guys also you guys also wanted me here a half hour earlier, and I was like, I can't do that.
oh,
Exactly. Yeah,
really?
now you're an hour earlier. What happened?
Oh
What's
well,
up,
sorry.
Dev? How's it going? So everyone say hi to ShortFatOtaku.
Hello, hello. I
Yes.
just did another podcast. I was on Side Scrollers. That was a fun time. And then
Ooh.
Adam's like, "Let's go," and I'm like, "I'm still alive.
I
Give me a
saw
minute.
that, yeah.
Let me have like a bit of food first before we do another one."
No, listen, don't be weak, okay? A real streamer like me and Adam, well, I don't know about Adam. I'll stream for
Mm-hmm.
8 hours, 12 hours and not eat anything. Okay.
I have snacks
Listen,
always. Look, I like I like my pocket food.
Oh
do
God.
you have like a snacky bar there or something?
I
No,
do. I usually have some
I don't.
stuff.
I just
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah,
Such
yeah.
as
However, I will. I'm going to sell you out to the chat, Sitch. All right, they got to know the truth
Me.
about you. Yeah,
What's
you.
the truth?
You're here talking about having energy. All right. Listen, I've been in the pre-show a bunch of times now. Listen, you guys got to know. Stitch is like, okay, I guess we got to stream. And then he hits the button. He's like, hey now. It's like, yeah, you know.
Wow, look at Dev here trying to give all my no, listen, this is the way it works. I'm like a spring, okay? Before the stream, I just coil up, coil up, coil up, coil up. I'm just getting all my energy ready so that when the stream starts, it explodes out, okay? That's called being a good entertainer.
this is actually third day in a row for us streaming, which I'm not sure we've
Oh,
ever streamed 3 days in a row. So
well, I know that you started doing a Sunday show, and then Tuesday ended up being like a super chats catch-up day, and then Tuesday became its own show,
Yeah.
and is now Monday becoming like the next totally not a stream day, but is going to be a stream day.
Sitch
Gonna be a
wants
thing.
to Sitch wants to try an experiment where we stream every day for a couple hours and kind of see what happens. So we
There you
follow the
go.
Oh,
news.
so
Yeah.
so
Boom.
so basically doing what Side Scrollers does, or what like Sargon does, the Lotus Eaters, where you just like have a daily show.
I
Well, that's
guess.
what
Yeah.
kind of what everyone does almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Sargon started it, but definitely in the past few years, there's been a shift towards like short streams every day, like an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, and you just cover the topics of the day, you know?
Well, the model, I mean, I don't think Carl started this, but the model has seemed like it is, people stream all day, which we're not going to do. People stream all day, every day, and then someone will cut out like the meat of the stream, or the best part of the stream, and then upload it, and then they unlist the stream. And I don't know if we're going to do that, but we're going to try streaming a little bit every day, see if we can look at whatever the controversial news story of the day is, because there's always some news stories, there's always some drama, and I feel like whenever I look into the story, everyone's talking about it wrong. They're always talking about it wrong. And I want to just get to the bottom of it. Like the immigration stuff
Mhm.
like I hate the conversation around this. It's making me lose faith in so much right now because everyone just describes the bill so like wildly incorrectly. You can be like, I don't care if people are against it, but just be against it for some like thing that's actually in the bill as opposed to just making up things or misinterpreting things. So, though I do want to add, I want to say there was something in the bill that we all misinterpreted when we were talking about it yesterday. So I want to correct the record here, okay? And I believe Pisco actually helped further confuse the issue. So he was also wrong about this. And I sent a tweet about this, okay? So if you recall yesterday in the immigration bill, there's this thing that says that when 5,000 people are stopped or found crossing the border on average for 7 consecutive days, that's what activates the emergency powers. And when the emergency powers are activated, the Border Patrol agents have the authority, and I think they just have to automatically do it, where if someone is crossing the border illegally, they're automatically denied any asylum claim. They can't even make an asylum claim. They're automatically thrown across the border back to Mexico or wherever they came from. Okay.
So they don't have some sort of apparatus that checks their status for being a refugee.
No. That's not the thing that we got wrong. I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah,
give you
yeah.
a summary
That's
of the bill.
okay.
That's what we talked about this yesterday. Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay, so that's not changed. That's still the
Right,
same.
that's not changed. Yeah.
So look, they don't just throw them back. They have to actually investigate a little bit, but they're able to do it at the border and then they toss them back.
No. The only way in which an interview goes into place when we talked about that yesterday was if the person claims they're being tortured by their government.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But right now the way it works, and that could be a potential problem if everyone changes their story.
Yeah,
'Cause
everyone
right now,
is going to say that.
I understand that, right? And they'll have to change an international treaty to fix that. But I assume we'd have to do that. So people saying that the president can just snap his fingers and do it, I don't believe that that's accurate. But regarding the amnesty thing, because what happens right now, or the asylum claims right now, is that people come and they say, "Oh, I'm being attacked by the cartel or whatever," and that's the claim everyone's making. They're not making claims that the government, generally, they're not making claims that the government is going after them. And so all those claims will no longer be valid, and those people are automatically deported on the spot once the emergency powers activate. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, and then with the torture thing,
go ahead.
It wouldn't
I'll
have to
say
be
when you're
it
done.
wouldn't have to be a long drawn out hearing process. It would just be a border agent listening to them and saying, "I don't believe you. Get the fuck out of the country," or saying maybe they do believe them. Right. So one way or the
Right.
other. But anyway,
Other
thing I was
people have pointed out that a lot of people claim to be under 18 years of age and therefore circumvent all of this,
well, that's
even though
another
they're like
issue too.
35.
Right. That could be a problem too. Right. I don't know. I don't. Well, actually, I don't. Yeah, because that is an issue. There are different classifications if you're an unaccompanied minor.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
changes the game here, and yeah, I don't know how you would solve that problem. You know, I don't know. You can't like. I'm assuming you can't do DNA tests to figure out how old someone is, but I don't know. Maybe you could. So anyway, the thing I was going to correct the record on was in that calculation of the 5,000 people, the average 5,000 that has to cross the border for 7 days to activate the emergency powers. There was something in the bill that we read that said limitation. Okay, limitation. It was only going to count aliens from non-contiguous countries. Remember this?
Yeah, I do. We argued
Okay.
about it extensively.
And we were kind of confused. We're like, well, does that mean that they're people born from non-contiguous countries or people coming in from non-contiguous countries?
Right.
So I was reading it today and it dawned on me how we were all misreading this, and it was very obvious to me. Of course, off stream, right? Off stream, I have all the great ideas.
Right.
I have all the clarity of thought in the world off stream.
That's how it
obviously.
usually works. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's no pressure to get it right.
That's it. That is it. So we're all reading this wrong because it says aliens described in subsection A to C from non-contiguous countries shall not be included in the calculation. Okay. We're all assuming that section A to C is the above section where they just kind of talk about how many people are required to activate this 5,000 number. But that's not. You have to actually scroll up even further and further pages above and see that subsection A to C is actually describing the unaccompanied minors. So all that part was saying about the non-contiguous countries is that unaccompanied minors that are not from Mexico are not counted toward that 5,000 total. That's all it meant. Now, as to why they make a distinction between unaccompanied minors from Mexico versus everywhere else, I'm not sure the answer to that question, but that's all it meant.
Okay. Maybe something to do with families in America? I don't know. I think that's what I pitched last time, but because Mexico obviously has a lot more familiar relationships back and forth with people in the United States.
Yeah, we might have some agreement with the Mexican government. If they're from Mexico, we just give them to Mexico. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm assuming there's something like that. But so that was the correction. So because we had speculated that maybe what they meant was people coming in. It meant people coming in from Mexico, not their country of origin. That's not what it means. It does mean their country of origin, but it only is talking about unaccompanied minors. It is not talking about adults. So
cool.
So I got to be honest. I don't know exactly what you guys are talking about. I know the bill. I don't know what conversation you had yesterday.
Well, you
read
should.
the bill.
Sorry. Sorry
Who
about
read
that.
the
I don't
bill?
know. I don't want. Okay, listen. I can't watch everyone's videos and streams all the
Oh
time.
my
There's too
God,
many.
what a
There's
bad
too many.
person. Oh.
There's too many.
How do you feel about this bill? Are you supporting it? Or are you against it? Do you hate freedom?
I
Do you
think
love freedom?
I'm mostly supporting it. I think.
Okay.
I don't
Wow.
know the full details, but like,
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I see something go viral on Twitter and everyone is saying the exact same thing and it's like a punchy one-liner, I immediately think to myself, I need to see the source of this
Mm-hmm.
because 9 times out of 10, the punchy one-liner is wrong, right? So in this case, they're like people on the right, the right wingers right now are saying this bill lets in 5,000 illegals and then closes the border. Why can't we just close the border? And I'm like, I mean, if if it is actually how they describe it, that's pretty bad. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna guess it's not. So I went to go look at the bill, and it turns out that like letting them in means they apprehend them and process them and mostly
Right.
send them back. You know, and
Yeah.
and basically in my talks with right wingers, they don't want illegals who are already past the border to be apprehended, processed, and sent back. They want them to simply just be marched out into the desert and told to go away.
Right.
And that's what they consider to be a victory. And so even if there is a process by which illegal immigrants are detained and then processed and sent back, they don't even want that process to exist. They simply want to be like, nope, we're gonna set up a bunch of fucking sentry turrets at the border, and if you come close, they'll just open fire. It's like, I mean, all right, guys, sure, but I don't know. There seems to be just a lot of misunderstanding of what's actually going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also I think even if we were to take the right wing solution at face value, it just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you have a border patrol guy and he's sitting at the border and like an illegal walks across, right? Right now he's apprehended and processed and deported. What the right wingers want is they want them to like pull their guns out and say, go back the way you came. And
Right.
the illegal can do that, but you know what he'll do? He'll go over a hill, he'll wait like 6 hours and then just cross again.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it doesn't work. Like even if we give them what they want, it's gonna be worse than what we currently have.
Well, this is this is that tweet I put out about how like if you want like the border wall only makes sense if we had a system where people couldn't just apply for asylum on the border. Because then it would actually make sense because then you want to actually funnel people towards specific points of entry, right? The way it is
Right.
now, it just doesn't matter because what you're saying is, someone just wait or just go somewhere else and they'll just find just, an agent somewhere and say,
Mhm.
hey, grant me asylum. And they go, okay, well, now I have to give you a court date and put you in front of a judge and do all this stuff that the law mandates that we do, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's what you have to change right there, the asylum laws.
Right.
Yeah. Here's the thing though, is like the counter argument is, well, you have people who are coming in, they're applying for asylum, could be real, could be false. We don't know until they have their hearing, but like the system's so backlogged, the hearing is like 2 years, 5 years, sometimes 10 years away. And until then, they can just stay in the United States. And that seems to be a problem. It probably is a
That
problem
is the
if it's
problem,
actually
yeah.
happening like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is the problem. That's
Yeah.
that's why that's why I'm in favor of just getting rid of the ability to apply for asylum at all on the border or in our country.
See, I don't know about that because you can definitely have people who do have valid asylum claims who probably should be let in.
You know,
And
I agree completely. There are people that definitely have valid claims, but the problem is, and it's just going to suck and be awful. But the problem is that so many people are abusing the system that there's only two ways to solve it. Is that either A, you just hire so many more judges and build so many more facilities to house people, essentially, that you could
mhm,
actually go through all these claims within like 2 weeks or something and just house people on the border
yep.
somewhere.
And
But
by the
that's
way,
not going to
those are
happen,
all
right?
those are all things that Democrats don't want because we saw what happened when they stood in front of the detention centers with like
Kids in
AOC crying the
cages,
fake
yes.
tears, the kids in
Right.
cages. Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
see. Here's the thing: they're arguing against the very institution that would actually make it better because they don't want it to be better. They
Right.
simply want the border to be open, right?
I don't know if I don't know. I don't think most Democrats have like a conscious thought. They're like, I want the border to be open. I don't think that's the way
I
I don't
think
think it's the way it
progressives do.
works.
I think the progressives are
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're
The
just like
hyper
devoted to.
progressives do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
AOC maybe, but right, like the squad, sure. But
yeah.
they're in the minority of actual politicians. The majority is just it's the same thing the Republicans are doing right now with this border bill. So like this border bill, I agree, doesn't go far enough, but it's better than what we have, right? And it would help. And so you could make the argument if you have a very cynical perspective where you say, oh, well, the Republicans don't want to make, they don't want to make it so that, the executive branch has the authority to basically auto deport people on the border, which we already have an average of 5,000 people a day. So this would go into effect immediately. And Biden even said that he would use his power immediately if the bill is passed. And so you can make the argument, say, oh, well, the Republicans aren't passing this bill, so therefore that must mean that the Republicans want open borders. And it's like, well, I don't think they want open borders. I think what they want is they want to win the next election. And they want to use
Yes.
whatever they can to win the next election. And they feel like kind of having the immigration problem continue will help Trump win. And it's the same thing with like the Democrats under Trump. The whole kids in cages thing, I don't think it was like a grander plot to have some immigration effect. It's just that they want to hit Trump with the racist stick because they want to win the next election.
Yep. I think that's exactly it. Because for the first, let's say the first half of Biden's presidency, um, COVID restrictions aside, he was pretty loose with immigration. He like the Democrats were trying out this more progressive idea of let's just start letting people in, and that became so politically unpopular. Now I think Biden, or maybe not Biden himself, because he's like a vegetable at this point, but like people who are working for him, people, the Democratic establishment is seeing how unpopular the current situation is, and it's like, oh shit, if we want to get reelected, we're going to have to close the border up. So I think it's nothing ideological. I think they're just
Yes,
reacting to what the population wants, right?
of
And the
course.
Republicans also see this, and they say, hey, you know what? I bet if we stonewall, despite Republicans constantly campaigning on border issues, if we just keep the border open, it'll make Biden look so bad that maybe Trump can win in 2024.
Hmm.
I,
Yeah,
I think that's basically the gambit right now.
that is what appears to be the game to me. But this is why I'm kind of like super depressed about the way in which this is being talked about. Because, even though I agree that I don't think the bill goes far enough, like I don't care if people, if people are against it because they don't, they think the number is too high. Well, first of all, if they think the number is too high, the 5,000 number is too high. Okay. That's a pretty easy fix. You can just say, okay, Republicans will just negotiate on the bill in the House. They'll just take the bill and they'll just lower that number to whatever number they want. And then just say, okay, well, we'll pass the bill, Senate, but you just have to lower this 5,000 number to like whatever, whatever the fuck number they want it to be. Um,
10.
so yeah, 10 people, right? Whatever they want it to be. Like, but they're not going to do that, right? To me, that's always a very clear sign of like the bullshittiness of politicians complaining about bills is when they don't have any desire to actually try to negotiate the thing that they want in the bill. They just say, I'm just not voting for this. And they just fold their hands. And you're like, well, okay, well, then I guess the problem just continues and nothing changes.
Well,
Like,
if it serves their interest that the problem continues, then they'll try to make the problem continue while saying that it's still a problem, right?
right. But I like if people had the cognition, right, or the awareness that it's very obvious that what's going on here is that both sides are acting in accordance of trying to get elected. Okay. The Democrats are like, oh shit, the border problem is becoming so bad that we actually need to do something about it. And the Republicans are saying, this actually helps us win elections if the border problem continues. And that's what's really motivating the behaviors here. But that's not the way it's looked at. Or it's everyone only looks at it from one side. So like if you're a Democrat, you're like, oh, the Republicans are just doing this for political reasons, and the Democrats are doing it for like the correct moral reasons.
Ideological, principled reasons.
Right. And if you're a Republican, you look at it like, oh, well, the Democrats are just doing this for bad reasons. And no, I mean, the Republicans are doing this because, because the bill itself is awful and it grants amnesty to 1 million people and blah, 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 all the stuff that is like not true. And the Democrats are just, doing it for their own evil reasons. When in reality, it's like, no, both sides here are doing this for very, very cynical reasons. And I just want people to understand that and be able to like see what's actually happening here and not just get kind of sucked into the team play of politics and be like, oh no, this like all these claims about the bill are actually true. It's all about amnesty. It's all like fucking Elon Musk. I couldn't believe this. He's so insanely irresponsible. I want to like Elon Musk so badly, and he keeps spitting in my face. It's really annoying. I'm like, Elon, I want to love you. Stop spitting in my face and tell me it's raining, okay? He's like, oh, this bill is designed by the Democrats to just give all these illegal immigrants citizenship so they can vote in the election. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's like nowhere, has nothing to do with the bill. That's not in the bill. And it's so irresponsible because so many people see that tweet and they just say, "Oh, that's true. Elon Musk is saying it. It must be true."
The real
So the
Holzinator
actual,
hold on one sec.
oh,
The real
yeah.
Holzinator for $5 says open borders become unpopular once the aliens were bused to Democrat-run cities. We need to bring the problem to their doorstep. This is actually like a brilliant political move here
Yes.
because now it becomes advantageous for the Republicans to stall on the border because it's the Democrats' problem. And they're going to be losing people in their winning coalition because those Democrats are getting pissed off and they're literally going to vote for the Republicans.
It's, and that's a good point. I'm glad that Holsteiner brought that up because that, like, the whole idea, like busing them to the Democrat states and
Yeah.
cities is a genius idea. And
Yep.
it is was a very clever idea to, as you said, make it their problem and make
Yep.
people actually on the left care about the issue. So that was a very smart thing to do.
Yeah, but now that nothing is being done about it, it's definitely going to hurt the Democrats. It's going to hurt the Democrats.
So the problem's obviously democracy. And I think we need some form of neo-monarchy here, guys. So maybe it's time for us to start the next round of Marvin Yarvin. Okay, never mind.
Kirsten Baller for $2 says this better not be a Yarvin Marvin stream. So
yeah, look at that.
It's time.
Already taken
It's
care
time.
of.
Yeah. No, nobody wants that. Except for you, for some reason.
It's just a lot of fun.
So
it's a lot of fun.
Do you want to talk about this tweet that I sent you, Dev?
Before we do, I'm trying to find something really quickly.
Oh,
give me 15 seconds, okay?
I don't actually have the tweet up anyway, so
2,
I should.
3, 4. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay, I found it. All right. So was it last summer? When did the Fudge Round song come out? Whenever that was.
The Fudge Round song?
Yeah, there was the conservative guy who was singing about how like the world's declining. Richmond, short of North
Oh,
Richmond.
Oliver Anthony?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. That was last August, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that, right? So
yeah.
I did a video on that, and at the same time as I was doing the video, I was reading another book. So I thought that's all I would do. So just read nonsense. And the book was called The Theory of the Leisure Class. It was written in 1899 by some Norwegian guy. And his view, I think it's relevant to this. It actually is relevant. We're not going on some weird roundabout here. And it's not going to loop back to Marvin Yarvin. His theory was basically that you had it was very easy to tell who was part of what social class back in the day, right? Because you had like peasants who wore like fucking burlap sacks, and then you had your royals who had very fine clothes and fine tastes, right? And you could very easily tell who was who was in the top of the hierarchy in your society and who was in the bottom. However, in American society and in like more egalitarian, more Republican societies where the monarchy had been abolished, and you still have social classes, but they're different. However, there's still a social necessity to signal what class you're a part of, right? Because even in America where there's no more monarchy and there's no more like noble class, there's still like an approximation of social class, and you still need to show what your class is through some sort of social signaling.
Is
so
this
he
luxury
theorized,
beliefs? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, he was the guy who came up with the luxury beliefs thing. That was him, and he came up with it in 1899, and it seems to be correct. So his theory was basically like you had people who played golf, and they played golf not because they actually like golf, but because golf is a sport of luxury. It's for the upper classes because it takes a bunch of money to get into. The large swaths of land have to be put aside. It's a sport that requires resources. So by engaging in the sport, you show that you have those resources, right? Now, with technological advancement over time, we've seen that luxury behaviors used to signal your class have become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper as stuff in general has gotten cheaper. I always use the example of a 30-inch TV in 1990 cost $10,000. A 60-inch TV nowadays costs like $500, and it's a far better TV, right? So with technological advancement comes the destruction of old social signifiers used to show off what class you are. But classes still exist, and those signifiers are still necessity, and that's why we have now, like you said, Adam, luxury beliefs. So
I know this from Rob Henderson though. Who is this guy? Rob Henderson was the guy who came up with luxury beliefs, and he's like a social psychologist.
Okay, this guy's name's Thorstein Veblen.
Okay,
and he wrote a book in 1899 called "The Theory of the Leisure Class." It's probably it's probably the same work, just like maybe the guy
he's talking specifically about people signaling like having these beliefs, like believing in polyamory. Like all the people who are all in favor of polyamory are all monogamous rich people. They don't engage in the belief that they're signaling. They signal it because it shows that they're luxurious. Rob Henderson is the social psychologist. Yeah.
Okay.
Luxury beliefs are ideas and opinions that confer status on upper class while inflicting cost on the lower class. The luxury belief class conflates criminality with poverty, even though the vast majority of poor people don't commit crimes. That's an example of a luxury belief. Also, polyamory is an example of a luxury belief, obviously. So, Rob Henderson is like the man.
Oh no, here we go. Yeah. So yeah, Rob Henderson, this guy wrote about Thorstein Veblen's theory a year ago. Yeah.
Polyamory is a luxury belief?
Yes.
Yeah, because obviously it makes for more unstable family situations, right? So the lower classes engage in this, and they all end up having like 5 baby daddies. But obviously people who have money and status, they don't engage in this behavior. They're all in monogamous relationships.
Here, I'll post this in the Discord. Yeah, it seems like he got this idea from Thorstein Veblen, because he's talking about it here a year ago.
Oh, did you Google him and Thorstein?
Yep.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just did a quick Google of him. Yeah, it looks like he got this probably from his book. But anyway, the idea basically is like, these luxury behaviors, rather than like luxury clothing, it becomes luxury behaviors, and then luxury behaviors become luxury beliefs, and that's kind of where we are now. Is where it's like you said, it's like people are isolated from the negative effects of the beliefs that they espouse in society, right? So like that's why you always see you see people with immense amount of wealth and status, they live the most degenerate lifestyles possible, like rock stars, right? It's like, well, how is it that they can do that? Well, because they have millions of dollars to pump into their own healthcare to survive using drugs all this time, right? Now, poor people can't do that. Poor people will start taking heroin and they'll just fucking die, right? So they can afford the negative consequences of having a hedonistic lifestyle. So they can promote certain lifestyles that poor people cannot survive living, but they can because they have the excess resources. And so their ability to promote them, and in some cases their ability to live them, has become a social signifier of their upper class status. So to bring this all the way back around to the border conversation, you have people who live in luxury gated communities like Hasan or Vosh in Beverly Hills saying bring in the illegals, knowing that the illegals will never ever be on their doorstep.
Right. The NIMBYism.
Yeah. So they can basically sit there and say, hey, they can show their virtue by saying, hey, virtue signal, hey, this is the morally correct policy, but any negative externalities of that policy they never suffer from. Somebody else suffers from them instead.
Right.
The poor.
Well, that's what everyone notices and so annoyed about Hasan and his hypocrisy, because it's like every belief he has won't have like any effect on him whatsoever as a streamer. Because he's like, well, I pay all my people that work for me like a shit ton of money, and like if everything became a co-op, like would it impact Hasan really? Like,
hell no.
So, actually, did you guys see the recent Hasan news, by the way?
What was the recent Hasan news?
Well, the people found out who his dad is. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. Well, so I tried to look. So I think people are slightly mistaken about that. There's this claim that his dad is the CEO of some giant company. I don't think he's the CEO. I think he was some VP for the company. So he had a high level position. Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked into it. His dad is Mehmet Beset,
but he's not like the head of the company. So
no.
I mean, Like it's still like a
Um,
big thing. His father's still some, big guy in some kind of multi, billion-dollar company. But
so he was a founding member of the Turkish Future Party. That's what he's done since his retirement. And
right.
the Future Party is basically a neo-Ottoman party. They
Hmm.
want to rebuild the Ottoman Empire. They want to reconquer all of its old lands. They want to bring back, Turkish nationalism.
Yeah.
It's that sort of party.
That makes a
Um,
lot of sense considering his positions on Israel and whatnot.
yep. Um, However, he is a branch member of the Sabaki family. And the Sabaki family is this it's basically the Trumps of Turkey. They are the richest family in Turkey. They run a giant corporation with billions of dollars flowing through it every year.
Hmm.
He had a VP status. He's like a cousin in the family or something.
His father?
Yes. So he wasn't like the direct heir to this huge fortune, but Hassan's father was the cousin of somebody who it's like a branch of the main family of this
Hmm.
super rich family. So that's how he got like he got like the VP position because he was part of the family basically.
Right. Well, it's interesting because Hassan has claimed that his father was very wealthy, but then like lost all their money gambling or something. And I'm curious if that's true or just a complete fabrication.
I don't think that shit's true. I
Maybe
mean,
when he
maybe.
said lost all his money, he meant like, oh, well, he
That
had like,
night. Yeah.
yeah, he had like millions and millions of dollars, and now we only have millions of dollars. Like, oh, he lost all his money. You're like, and this is why I fucking really despise Hassan, everything he stands for, because you have a person who was basically born in America, then shipped back to Turkey to be raised there for most of his life, in a life of luxury. You've seen all the pictures of him riding his little horses in high school, in some sort of like very rich outfit doing all the rich person shit. And then he comes back and it's like, oh, he goes to school actually in South Florida and he just fucks around and doesn't do anything, important. And his grades are so bad that his family, pulls him back up to New Jersey or New York or wherever they live to kind of keep an eye on him. And then immediately after high school, he gets a job with his uncle at the Young Turks and he's just like a total dude bro, like piece of shit guy. And then it's like, oh, suddenly I've found, communism and I'm like the most moral fucking person in the world. Then goes off, on his own and just sits in his house, basically not living any of the principles that he's making millions and millions of dollars every year off preaching. And it's just disgusting to me that this totally coddled piece of shit, rich bougie asshole is just grifting to an entire audience that laps this shit up.
Well, requiring someone to live their principles is bourgeois, though.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Exactly. Exactly.
It actually is in the Marxian sense
Hmm.
because it's a the comic of the guy in the well we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah,
Pro,
can we improve, America or whatever, capitalism?
Yeah. So basically the idea is like even if you hold certain beliefs and you act in counter to those beliefs because you still live in the system that oppresses you, you can't be held responsible for not acting your beliefs out, right? And so, the revolution hasn't come yet, so we can forgive Hassan because he's still beholden to the capitalist system. That's going to be his argument.
Yeah, but the thing, the well comic, it's like one of those comics that is like destroyed the brains. Right? I'd rather just say it is like I hate these fucking political comics because half the time, like all these people, their brains are already mush, but then they just find some meme to latch onto that they throw out, and it's like you understand this doesn't apply to the situation. They go, "Hey guys, a meme! I got you with the meme, bro, bro, I got you with the meme," and it's
Well,
like the whole point of the meme, which first of all, the comic itself isn't actually untrue because the point of the comic is like, okay, if you have some person who's like very poor and is like working at a, in the comic, it's like a fucking feudal serf, but relating it to today, like someone's working a minimum wage job, I understand that that person wants to advocate for changes in the system, and it's unfair to say, well, you're still participating in capitalism. It's like, okay, well, they don't have the money to not participate in capitalism. They don't have literally the ability to do anything else because of their financial situation. But to apply that to fucking millionaires like Hassan, who do have the power, do have the luxury, do have the money to change the system or to not participate in it is bullshit. That's the whole point. That's the fucking lie that they gripped off of. It's supposed to be like, oh, well, yeah, don't hold like the poor people, accountable, but the rich people hold them accountable because they know better. But unless that rich person's on my team, oh, then you let them do whatever the fuck they want.
Do you want me to steel man his position? Because I know it. I don't agree with it, by the way. I can tell you what his
I know
position
his position's bullshit though. But if you
well,
want it, go for
yeah,
it.
his view would basically be that his view would basically be that the class divide between the bourgeois and the proletariat has nothing to do with wealth. You can be a very, very rich member of the proletariat. It has to do with your relationship with the means of production. Hasan, despite being rich, he's still proletariat because he doesn't own the means of production. Twitch does, or YouTube does, or whoever the case is, right? So that is basically why he's allowed to amass so much wealth morally
I don't
from the
think he would
communist
make that
point of view.
argument.
He wouldn't make the argument, but that is like the by the book communist revolutionary argument.
Yeah, like someone can make that argument. I don't think anyone would buy that argument if he made it. So.
But yeah, if you were to like take the collected writings of all the communists and then turn them into an AI and say, what is the communist ideology's reply to this argument? That's what the AI would spit out. That's how they view it.
It's more like if so Engels, who worked with Marx, owned a factory, and it's like if Engels pays all his workers minimum, I don't know if he did, I don't know anything about him, but if he paid all the workers minimum wage to work in his factory, and you're like, what the fuck? You're like literally writing the Communist Manifesto. Why don't you turn your own factory into a co-op? And he said, listen, that's all good, but we live currently in a capitalist society. Okay, so I can't, my hands are tied. I just have to play by the rules of capitalism. It's like, well, fuck you then. What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
well,
how can anyone live by this system that if like, how can this system be good if it requires everyone in the fucking entire world to radically change the entire economic system before anyone can even abide by it?
Yeah, so that is what he would say, yes. And he would say, like, listen, I would not be competitive compared to other people, so I would lose to them. The state would step in and fuck me up and all my workers. So I am bound by society into a position where I must oppress the workers.
That's not their position, though. That's not their position.
They don't say it because they're all fucking stupid. Like none of the communist revolutionaries you can talk to today who are like streaming on Twitch or whatever, none of them know anything about fucking communism. So like this is the communist position, but none of them know what it is.
They always say the worker co-ops are more competitive, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's some evidence that they are sometimes, but it's not like a consistent thing. It's just
obviously.
I think this is what would happen if you're arguing with someone about worker co-ops versus private business. They will tell you that the worker co-ops are actually better and more competitive. But then if you're arguing with someone who owns a business or runs a business who's communist, then suddenly they'll say, "Oh, I can't do it."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it depends on the situation.
Yeah. And they'll be like, well, no, like I mean, obviously this is my like operation. I mean, I want to keep it like directed the way I want to direct it, right? Like, it's fucking stupid. It's dumb.
Oh God, I hate it.
Yeah, I think for most people,
they actually say that the worker co-ops are more competitive, and the only reason why they're being suppressed is because they would outcompete standard businesses. That the businesses are using government regulation to put the co-ops down, to keep them down. Yes, that's their argument. Stupid, I know.
It's dumb. It's dumb. A lot of it is dumb. But basically, there would be a bunch of excuses as that basically relate to how society is currently built. That means that they can't actually live their principles. It's society's fault. It's the government. It's their competitors. It's whoever other people. It's other people's fault. So until everyone's on board, I can't actually be a socialist. Which is why the conclusion they came to is revolution. Like that, there has to be a complete toppling of the old order so that this can actually work. And if you if you believe this nonsense, and I think the reason that Marx did that is because he looked back and saw like how early industrial capitalism just completely annihilated feudalism because it was just a better form of organization and it just like organically happened. It's like oh shit. So I think he was trying to make the case that this sort of thing would happen with socialism as well.
Right, and obviously it didn't. And I mean, if anyone's philosophy...
And they've been coping for 200 years ever since then.
I know, it's so disgusting. If anyone's philosophy or political ideology requires everyone in the world to adopt it to work, then that means it's never going to fucking work. Okay, it defeats the whole point. The entire point of these systems is that you have to say, okay, people have like really shitty impulses, so you have to create a system that kind of channels those shitty impulses into something productive and pro-social. That's the entire point of everything.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, if you look at, the various revolutionary ideologies on the right wing, it's the exact same stuff, right? Like
Of course.
the ANCAPs have the same criticism goes towards the ANCAPs, or they're like, just don't have a state and just no one touch each other. It's like, yeah, good luck. Not going to happen, right?
Right, right.
Or
Yeah, or you're gonna
Sammy,
have like the just king who's gonna always do the right thing.
yep. Sammy G brought up mold bug yet again. Let's do it. It's happening.
Sammy, why are you doing this? No, she said not. She said thankfully not a talk on mobile. Okay, so
I
look,
just saw the word. I just honed in on the word that I saw. I just saw like I was looking at the chat and then like the entire chat dimmed around it and just the word mold bug started glowing and it's
oh
like
my
it's time.
God, stop it, please.
But yeah, that's the fucking communist goddamn nonsense.
Mhm.
There it is.
So you're pro democracy, right, Dev?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Generally,
Yes.
So there's only
Wait, okay. So, Sitch, you and I have had this conversation in private like a dozen times at this point, where like I always give wishy-washy answers because there's always an exception to rules. There's always instances where a good thing is not good, right? Like democracy in government seems like a mostly good idea. Democracy in
Mhm.
your private life seems like a terrible idea. That's how I view it.
Yeah, no,
well,
listen, I understand exactly what you're saying. The problem is that when we have these conversations, this is the black pill. Okay, this
Mhm.
is the real dark black pill. But it only applies to streamers, so most people listening have no experience with this whatsoever. Is that when we have these conversations, we'll talk about some very long, complicated philosophical thing, some very long, complicated legal thing, or whatever. Okay, most people listening are like they're just doing something else. They're playing video games, they're working, they're doing whatever. So they're only gonna like really process like 10% of whatever we're saying, or they're only going to process like the vibe of what we're saying. So when you're like wishy-washy on shit, people are not hearing like all the nuances and correct things you're saying. They're just hearing like the vibe of wishy-washiness. And they're like, oh,
yep,
I guess,
great
I
point.
guess democracy sucks, right? And that's like
Yeah, maybe
always, and I
so.
don't know what the answer to that is, but that's unfortunately sort of the reality of the situation.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, but like, at the same time, like there are so many times in the past when I've been browbeat and I've seen people be browbeat with overly simplistic statements.
Hmm.
This is Vosh telling the liberal, you like democracy, right? Well, I just want more of it. And the correct reply to that is actually to say, well, you know what? More democracy actually isn't good in some situations. It depends. The answer is always it depends.
Sure, but like this is okay. That like really dumb argument that people used to give for transgender stuff, where they'd say like, oh, can you define what a woman is? This was kind of ironic. Everyone thinks like Matt Walsh created the "what is a woman" argument. He stole that intentionally from the left. They used to be like, "Oh, can you define what a woman is?" And then you'd give some definitions of woman, like, "Oh, so lady with two X chromosomes and boobs and a vagina." Like, "Oh, well, if I know a girl and she has to have her boobs removed, is she no longer a woman?" Like, this we've heard this like retarded argument
Yeah.
like a million
Just say
times.
yes, by the way. Just giga chat it.
Yeah, I know, but it's like so. A lot of language, people don't really understand this because it only comes up in these like debate bro circumstances, which the average person never has in real life. Um, Most conversation, like 99% of conversation, is people talking in kind of like vague general concepts that rely on the other person sort of like understanding the general thing that they're talking about. And the
Mhm.
specifics are often not clear or not actually accurate. So like when someone says something to you like, "Oh, well, democracy's good," it's like, well, you can ask like, okay, well, you mean in like they're talking about in like a very specific context. Generally, they don't mean like unless they say this in every literal context of reality, every decision should be made through democracy. Like no
Should be
one
democratized.
yeah, like no one thinks that, or like even when I say this, when I say no one thinks that, I'm sure there's like one person that thinks that, but no one, like the overwhelming 99% of people don't think that that's the way it should work. No one thinks that their, girlfriend should be, who they sleep with should be via democracy, right? Like no one thinks these things, and it is so it's just. But unfortunately, when we have these kind of like debate bro conversations, it like always gets sidetracked into these like you have to use this like
Yeah.
ultra
Yeah.
precise language because everyone's looking for some like linguistical way to get you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I brought up Vosh, right? Because when Vosh says you like democracy, right? Liberal, well, I just like more of it. What he's doing is he's looking at the normative definition of democracy, which is going to
Yes.
be, I like democracy in governments. I want to elect my elected representatives. Like that's what he's thinking, right? And he's saying, well, I know that's what you think, but I'm using the word democracy differently. But I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to like nudge you from your position towards my position by morally browbeating you with the concept of my position's more democratic and democracy good. So
Exactly. Right.
yeah, people like that are using this problem to their own ends.
100%. Yeah, that's why I always say Sitch's law. Not every, but the majority of arguments are arguments about definitions, even if you don't realize it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in these situations. And it's the same thing because it's like, unfortunately, Scott Adams has basically gone completely crazy in the last few weeks, but he does have a good concept called word thinking, which is that people try to win arguments by just having you think about what a word means or redefine what a word means. And if someone's engaged in word thinking, that means they don't have an actual argument. They're not making some sort of point there. And that's what Vosh is doing when he says, I just like more democracy. That's just word thinking. It's like, oh, democracy, that's a positive association in your brain. So obviously, whatever I'm advocating for must also be a positive association.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. So I mean, if so, when Adam asked Dev, "Do you like democracy?" I mean, generally, we're talking about governments, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know that when Adam says it, he doesn't mean it the way Vosh means it, right? That's what I'm talking about in terms of like we have to sort of be collaborative with each other in these conversations.
Well, yeah. That's why I said generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
You fucking wishy-washy motherfuckers.
Well, yeah, because like even in the context of government, like there's obviously a place for non-elected representatives, right?
Of
People who are
course.
appointed, people whose power extends beyond simply being popular. You know, I think you can have like a decent system of checks on democratic power through people who are appointed, like judges or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So, but yeah, like if what you're asking is, do I think that you should be able to vote for your representatives in a parliament or in a Congress? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Yes. Did Adam leave?
Adam left. He actually hates you. He said, I don't want to ever talk to Dev again.
Sounds about right. I get that. I get that a few times. A few times a week.
Someone. Mhm. Oh, really? Silver Camaro for $5 says Dev could not possibly start an effective monarchy. He is a type B Kojiko who reeks
Oh
of the
my
potato.
fucking god.
Under his
Okay.
rule, the
Okay.
AL goal would destroy the race. I don't know what any of
Oh,
that means.
okay, listen. This guy's been following me around from stream to fucking stream for the past week, posting this shit in every fucking guest appearance I've
What does that
had.
even mean?
Okay. So these are fictional slurs for a fictional ethnic minority in
Yeah.
the video game Disco Elysium.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
in playing the game, you can come across a an ethno nationalist
Hmm.
who's talking about measuring people's skulls and talking about like the genetic qualities of each race and what makes the various races of this fantasy world inferior or superior. And he uses a whole bunch of in-universe slurs for the inferior people, who, by the way, are whites in this universe. The master race is the black race in this universe. Um,
Based.
so I was playing the game on stream, and we got to that part, and fucking busted a gut laughing at how ridiculous this is. And ever since then, this guy's been super chatting everywhere I go with this shit, just
Hmm.
trying to fucking rile people up or like do like a an inside joke or something.
I see. Okay. I gotcha. It's like, did you ever watch Dragon Ball Super?
I think I started but didn't finish it.
So it's not very good, but I mean, let's be real, Dragon Ball Z wasn't very good. But anyway, so in Dragon Ball Super, there is
Wait, did you say Dragon Ball Z wasn't very good? Are you fucking kidding
it's
me?
not very good. Listen, I
You're gonna
love Dragon
have
Ball
the
Z. Stop.
okay.
Listen. Wait.
Listen.
Listen. No, you listen.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Go
love
ahead. Go
Dragon
ahead.
Ball Z. I've been watching Dragon Ball Z since I was 5. Okay. Dragon Ball Z shaped my worldview. But I have to acknowledge from a story perspective, it's not very well written.
So the entirety of Central and South America has just unsubbed, and the cartel will be coming for you shortly.
That is why do South and Central Americans love Dragon Ball Z so much? I don't I mean I like it. I love it, but I don't understand why. Like, why is this such a cultural phenomenon over there? I don't get it.
I think it's just because it's like hyper masculine, but also like in a positive way. So kind of jives with them.
I Is that it? Is that all it is?
I think so.
Okay, maybe. That's why I always say Dragon Ball Abridged, DBZ Abridged is better because it's like better written or it becomes better written because at first it's just kind of like parody, but it becomes
Yeah.
better written as it goes on than the actual show itself, which is kind of baffling. But anyway, in Dragon Ball Super, the reason I brought this up, there's a villain who is like one of the gods, and their plan is that they want to go around and kill all mortals because they find mortals disgusting.
Okay.
And like the word for mortal in Japanese is ningen.
Hmm.
Ningen, ningen.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so he keeps saying these dirty ningens need to die. And I'm sure you could see where this is going to go in the memes that were generated during this Dragon Ball Super arc when this villain is talking about wiping out the ningens and how the dirty ningens all need to be destroyed.
I think Ningen means like human.
It means human, yes. Right.
Yeah, in Japanese.
Right. Right. So but he meant in the context of like non-God character.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was a big controversy. So those Japanese.
Are you back
Um,
yet, Adam?
no,
Jeez, where'd he
Adam,
go?
I don't know. Maybe has a stomach virus. Maybe he's vomiting like I was the other day.
Oh, damn.
Um, Mr. TB for 5 Canadian says, ask Dev where the goddamn trucker video is at, or at least give us a time frame. We've been waiting for years, man. Love you though. Trucker video.
Every time someone asks, I add a day to the timeline of when it's going to be
You're talking
released.
about the Canadian trucker protest?
Yeah,
Okay. There's no reason to do a video on that. It's been too long. Like 5 people are gonna watch that video.
I'll still do it.
Why?
Well, it just came back. Well, the court case just finished like a couple weeks ago. Like there's been legal
So,
proceedings going this whole time, right? And
yeah.
I've been like, I'm gonna see like what's going on with these. And so the court case came back, and the court basically declared that it was illegal for Trudeau to do that, and that's gonna have some political ramifications here. So things are still happening. It's just the actual bulk of the story, happened 2 years ago.
Okay.
So like basically, I put off. Here's the actual answer. I'm just lazy. That's it. That's why I didn't
Okay.
do it.
Based.
I
What do you
I
mean?
I
You've been pushing out a lot of videos. It's not like you've just
I,
been doing nothing.
I
Like
want
me.
I wanted to do way more than I've been doing. I know I can do. I've just been lazy. But the initial reason for the trucker video, I was going to wait a year, and the main reason is because there was a Senate investigation in the Canadian Senate, and
Hmm.
that finished up around this time last year. And I said, okay, it's now time for me to do the trucker video. But like people were so incensed about the fact that I didn't, immediately do knee jerk reporting like so many people do. I was like, no, I'm going to wait and figure this out because I don't I think in retrospect, having looked at all the evidence, I'm definitely more on the side of the truckers than not, but they also
Hmm.
weren't perfect, right? How,
Hmm.
but like because like there's this expectation among more right-leaning members of my audience that I have a take immediately, and I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to do like the constant ambulance chasing that so many political channels do. I said I'm going to wait, and so that it turned in. First of all, it turned into a meme that I was just like forgetting to do. I was forgetting, or I was lazy, or I was like I was cowardly. I was going to face up to some things that I got wrong or something. But then that meme started to be believed by people who actually dislike me. And now there's actual like dev haters saying he'll never do the trucker video, unironically. You know what I mean? But the actual truth of it all is that it was a good chunk of it was waiting for more information. Then a good chunk of it was laziness.
You
And
can't wait in our ecosystem. You just have to produce the content before any of the facts are in. You got to be the first video covering a topic, like boom. Okay, that's how it works. Come on.
yeah, but I don't like doing that. Fuck it. I like being correct and waiting a bit. I don't like giving like the hottest, stupidest fucking take.
No, listen, I'm gonna go on Twitter and I'm gonna be like, okay, immigration bill. What's going on here? How do we understand this immigration bill? Oh, people are calling it amnesty bill. Boom, amnesty bill. Oh, the fucking evil amnesty bill that's being passed. How dare they pass the amnesty bill? Boom, there you go. That's my content. Just complain about that for like an hour and you're good. You're good to
not,
go.
not not to keep going back to the old Vosh well, but there was that one time when like he thought that a cop was planting evidence in like a
Hmm.
pullover stop. Like you remember seeing that where like he threw like a baggie into the car or something?
Yes, yes, yeah.
And like that was not the case at all, but Voss just had to give the fastest fucking possible take with no information. I don't want to be that person. I hate that idea. I
I
hate people
don't.
who do that.
Hmm.
So
I don't
I
remember what
wait to do
this.
my videos.
Do you
Yeah.
remember what the story was? I don't remember what the exact news story was. That was what caused the split, the original split between Hassan and Destiny. Was that
Was it?
Hassan covered some like news story very quickly and he got like some of the major facts all completely wrong, and
Mm,
Destiny was calling him out for it publicly, and Hassan felt like betrayed because they had been like friends up until that point, or at least friendly up until that point.
yeah.
I don't
Well,
remember
actually,
what the story was though.
this does tie back into the social signaling as class signaling kind of thing, right, from
Hmm.
earlier. Because if you're somebody who like stakes your reputation on a position that is ideologically correct, but factually possibly false in the future, but factually inconclusive right now, if you're willing to stick your neck out, that's a form of social signaling. It's like I'm part of the correct group. I'm with you guys. So even if I'm wrong, like the idea is if you're factually incorrect, you're willing to take a hit to show that you're part of the group, right?
Right.
And people who are more focused on the truth rather than on that sort of thing, they don't stick their necks out. And so they're called cowardly, or there's like, won't you comment on this? Well, don't you have a position on this? You need to make a video about this. You need to do a stream about this. And like you see that from the left, you see it from the right, and it's the kind of thing I don't want to engage in. I just
Yeah, no,
that's the big reason why I didn't
I
do the second
agree.
video right away. Yeah.
But the problem is like in the way that it works is that you're only if you come out early on a story and you're completely wrong about it, you're only penalized by your audience if you're you're wrong about the story in the way that hurts your political side. So like for example, like the Covington kids I think is like the most clear example of people coming out too quickly on a story, right? You know, everyone just saw that like one video clip and they saw that one picture of that kid, and so they all jumped to this conclusion that, you know, oh, the super racist narrative, right? And so all the newspapers and all the articles and all the people came out and they did said all the shit that they said about it. But then when it turned out that it was completely not true, it was literally the opposite. He was literally just standing there, and this Native American guy who was just a fucking piece of shit walked up to him because for some reason he's the actual racist because he sees a bunch of black Hebrew Israelites yelling at a group of white kids and thinks the white kids are the ones that are going to cause the problem here. And yet like the people and all the news commentators that got that story completely wrong, they didn't get penalized by their audience. Like they got penalized because they got sued, but they didn't get penalized by their audience because them getting the story wrong about this was like racism, that doesn't hurt the left-wing narrative at all, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they're totally fine with the story just being wrong and then assuming the story is wrong, even when it turns out to be. I mean, and assuming the story that it is racism, even when it turns out that the story is wrong. And this is the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with like Hassan and Vosh and these people when they cover breaking news, or even people on the right when they cover breaking news. As long as like the wrong thing they get still helps their side, no one cares if it comes out that they're wrong about the story.
Or at the very least, it's like quietly forgotten, right? It's like, oh, let's not gonna
Yeah,
talk
just
about that.
brush
Yeah.
off. Right. Yeah,
Yeah. You know,
exactly.
the news cycle's moved on. There's no reason to talk about that anymore. It's past. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And,
So.
you know, I've been having this conversation with V recently. V is still a good friend, even though we disagree politically. Like we
Mhm.
can still be pals, right? But like we've had a whole bunch of arguments in public and private, like on streams, in the private chats, like just about just you know how black pilled should people be about the current state of things. And so we've talked about like the 2020 election, we've talked about the current economy, we've talked about like COVID lockdowns, a whole bunch of things. And V's more right wing than me, and he's definitely taken a more black pilled position than me. And there have been times when V has like accurately predicted certain things, right? Without any
Mhm.
evidence. Like he said, this is the case. And I'm like, well, there's no evidence of that. And then 6 months later, oh, it comes out that that actually was the case. And then he always says, how did I know, Dev? How did I understand? And I said, well, yeah, there's some value in intuition, right? You see a pattern and you say this is probably going to happen, and then it happens. But you always forget all the times in which it didn't happen. All the times in which you made a prediction and it didn't come true. You only remember the ones where you actually got it right. And that's what I always tell
Yeah.
them. I'm like, listen, you got this one right, but like, what about all the other ones? You know?
It's the survivor effect kind of situation
Yeah,
going on
yeah.
there. Yeah. So,
and by the way, I'm not throwing shade at V, guys. I enjoy my
he
debates
is
with him. It's
throwing
always
shade
a
at
lot of
V. He just said that V sucks and that he's totally cooked,
fun.
and yeah, it was really bad. I can't believe he just said that on our show.
Hmm.
What's up?
Uh,
I'm back. Read some
welcome
Welcome
super
back.
back.
chats.
Are you okay? What
I thought the
happened?
house was on fire, so I thought I was
Oh,
Oh,
wait, why
smelling
did you think the
something.
house was
So
on fire?
I smelled something strange, like burning. So
What
You're just
was
having
it?
a stroke. Don't worry about it.
I don't know. I never discovered. So who knows? Maybe my neighbor's house is on fire.
Are you
Anyway,
having a stroke? Do you need to go? Does it smell like burnt toast or whatever? I'm worried
is
about
that
you.
like a stroke
Can
thing?
work
Yes,
if you.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
really?
so.
Oh, okay.
If you smell burning toast and there's no toast, you're having a stroke.
Okay. No,
Do you
I'm
still smell
fine.
it?
No, I don't smell it anymore.
Listen, hold up, wormy. Like cats, I
Oh
think they
my
can like
God.
sense it or something if you're having a stroke. You know, they
Look,
can
my
smell it.
neighbor was probably burning something in the backyard or something. I
Adam, you're
don't
an
know.
old man. I'm worried about you. You're gonna
Oh my
die.
God. I can't even
They're
like
just they're
I
burning
can't
heaps
even
and heaps of
investigate
toast.
potentially I left something on the stove without being accused of having a stroke. It's like, what the fuck? Look, you're the only one that has officially left the stream from deathly illness. Okay.
It's true.
Did that
Like,
happen?
I'm fine. Okay. Look, I
Yeah,
thought I left something on the stove and I investigated and it
last
turned out I was
Tuesday
fine.
in the middle of
Mhm.
an interview, I like got food poisoning from what I ate right before the stream, so I like ran off, started vomiting. So
Actually, I think it might be like I have like an industrial level light up here, and I think sometimes the dust settles up there, and I think the dust slowly burns off when I turn the light on. I think that might be what it is. So,
okay,
like a little
okay,
dusting would probably just solve the issue.
go a long way.
Yeah.
The real Halt's for $5 says, "Did you watch the Vosh Stefan Molyneux debate where Stefan asked Vosh, 'Why isn't your workplace a co-op?' And he said that he produces all the value." I do remember that. I
Yeah,
do remember that. Yeah.
that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
I get that the counter to that I would guess would be like, yeah, but Twitch isn't a co-op, right? You're literally supporting this capitalist empire. And then the response to that would be, well, that the meme comic, I don't have any control about that. I live in a capitalist society. So,
Mhm.
Deb, what do you like about democracy? What about democracy isn't cringe?
What about
Like
democracy
you said you
isn't
support,
cringe?
yeah, you said you support democracy. So I'm assuming like some of it is cringe and some of it is based. What is the based part?
Well, I think I think there's a strong moral argument for it, right? Like if you're going to live under a government that can possibly oppress you once you break its laws, especially if you don't agree with those laws, you should have at least some say in how those laws are made and what those laws are.
Yeah, but aren't you
So it's
just
like,
oppressed by the 51%? Isn't it rule by tyranny, rule by mob? I mean, that's what the anti-democracy people say.
yeah, I mean, it can be. It's definitely possible. But at the same time, that's why what goes in concert with
So you
democracy.
you don't really actually have a say. So that part you
Hold
can't
on.
count. Yeah.
Well, no, because what comes in concert with democracy is the ability to politically organize, right? Like if you couldn't come together and like if you had democracy, if you had voting, but you didn't have free speech, you didn't have the ability to join a political party or to like drum up votes or to spread ideas. If you only had the vote, I think it would be a very oppressive system, right? It's the fact that you can actually discuss things with your neighbors and you can all get together and you can all like come to some sort of agreement. You can put forward candidates, you can vote for those candidates. The fact that the whole package is together is what makes democracy good. If it's just voting, it would probably be very bad.
Right. So the ability to organize into voting coalitions with the potentiality of winning.
Yeah. So you can be like, listen, I think that anti-drug laws are bullshit. We should be able to smoke weed and not get arrested for it. You can have those conversations and you can put forward candidates who also agree with you, and then you can vote for them. If you weren't even able to talk about ideas that weren't currently legal, but you could still vote for a candidate, that would just suck.
Okay. That's cool. I mean,
So,
I agree with that.
another component of democracy that I really like is the fact that I think it's an inherently moderating force, because if you have to take like the aggregate view of millions of people and then put that all into one candidate who roughly aligns with those views, you're probably going to cut out most of the extremes, unless society's really fucked up, then you have other problems. But like if you have extremes with really radical ideas that are kind of shitty and most people don't believe in them, they're not going to win any you're not going to win any any races. And so like if you look at a democratically elected representative as somebody who is the aggregate opinion of the electorate, because he kind of is, then what you get is you might have somebody who is of average intelligence, and that kind of sucks because people who are average intelligence are really dumb. But you also get the bonus of things being, you know, more or less stable and more or less normal.
For the policy prescriptions that the people are voting for?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Like if most people believe in policy X and then they all vote for a guy and the guy's like, well, I'm going to implement policy X, and then you get policy X, like it's better than a radical who just has power for some other reason, right?
I think that the anti-democracy crowd is anti-democracy for the same reason the anti-capitalist crowd is anti-capitalist. Like
Yeah, probably.
If you're in a system and you're an economic loser in that system, you're going to hate that system. You're going to talk about late stage capitalism. You're going to complain and whine about how the system is unfair, right? If you're a Democrat, if you're an outsider in a democratic system because you have these fringe political beliefs that are never going to be enacted, then you hate the system. You hate democracy. So I think it's basically the same thing. Yeah.
There's probably something to that. Yeah, I think so.
So I look, I don't know how you turn that around for those people. In both situations, I don't think there really is a solution.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, when we had the meritocracy argument, like, was it 8 months ago or something, or that discussion? I made a point that like a pure meritocracy would probably be bad, right? And I think that the two strong arguments for that conversation, one is that a pure meritocracy would not allow for low-level nepotism that is kind of essential in society, where, you know, you hire your brother or your friend because he's your brother, right?
Look, I don't want to relitigate this conversation.
No, we don't got to relitigate it. But like,
look, you're doing the exact same thing Sitch was criticizing you of. You're giving enough wiggle room for people who are only paying attention 10% enough, and really, like the question is, are you in favor of aristocracy? And you're saying, yes, I am in favor of aristocracy.
No, I'm not.
But just in certain situations.
Okay, anyone who's currently listening, who's only 10% listening, fuck you, you're the problem. It's not me. All right? How about
they're not? Look, they're not the problem.
They're the problem. Here, so yeah, I mentioned the low level.
This is Adam's second definition of nuance. It's called needless complication.
Okay, well,
you're dipping it to the
hear me out for a second,
definition of nuance here. So sometimes nuance is actually useful, but not in this situation.
Okay, so the first nuance of the low level nepotism, that's probably a useless nuance for this conversation. The second one, though, I don't think it is. Okay,
let's move back to the democracy thing.
Let me just get this out. Let me just get this out because I think it's relevant. I think it's actually relevant to this.
This is relevant to democracy.
Yes,
this
I think it is.
Okay.
It's relevant to what you were talking about. I think so. So basically, like a pure meritocracy would not have any sort of duty of care from the more meritorious towards the less meritorious, right? Because everyone is where they are by virtue of their merit. So if people have shitty lives at the bottom of the hierarchy, it's because they suck and they should get good, right? But I mean, that's probably correct in just in terms of a pure like merit point of view, like a pure merit measurements. But
that's not.
You're still good.
That's not how the system works, though. Obviously, there's social safety nets.
Yes.
Well, the whole purpose of social safety nets is if 51% of the population who has democratic power at any given time, right? 51% of the population can vote for whatever policy they want. If 51% of the population fall into economic despair, they're going to vote for communist policies. So that's why you have the social safety net, to keep 51% of the population from dipping into economic loserdom.
Well, sure. Yeah, I agree. But the very fact that we're talking about social safety nets is in a way not meritorious, because those aren't meritorious. They help losers, not winners.
Yes. Yeah. To some extent. Like, definitely.
So it does seem to be the case.
What helps losers, not winners? Social programs?
Yeah.
I mean, the goal is supposed to be to help produce winners, right?
Sure. But it still helps losers because winners don't need it. right?
Well, first of
you
all,
could be a loser
wait,
today and a winner tomorrow.
right, and
Yeah,
obviously
that's the
using
point.
the
Yes.
word loser is hyper incendiary.
Okay. Well, I don't care what the incendiary part of the conversation. I don't give a fuck.
Well, I
But like,
mean, you should, because it's like, what the fuck are we talking about?
well, the point that I'm making is that social safety nets are good, but they're not meritorious, right? Because they help
Well,
people who don't get ahead based on merit. They help people who are at the bottom of the hierarchy, not the top. But they're still a good thing, and we should
yeah,
still
but
have them,
wait.
right?
That I think no, wait. I think it's a horrible way of framing it. Okay, because by saying it that way, you're implying, or even directly saying, that those who are failing because of a lack of merit, which we know is not always the case for a lot of people. A lot of people just get unlucky. A lot of people just get screwed over, right? If
Sure,
you're
sure.
born with some like horrible health condition, like your merit has nothing to do with it.
Okay, well, how about for the people that are failing because of a lack of merit?
Well, then those people are failing because of a lack of merit.
Right.
Right,
So
but
when
you're
a
saying you're
social,
making a
well,
whole. My only complaint was that you categorizing the entire program of social welfare programs as helping people
you
who are
just said
not
I couldn't be
meritorious.
nuanced anymore, Sitch.
Yeah, but what you're no, what you're saying is like completely the opposite.
Okay. Here. I'll be more nuanced then. Okay. So for those people who are at the bottom of a meritocracy because of their lack of merit, a social safety net program is not a meritorious force in society. It serves to help them because of their lack of merit.
I still do. Why does the point of framing it that like what? Why are you doing this? What are you trying to
Well,
accomplish here?
the reason that I'm bringing it up in this sense
Yeah,
is because every good idea can go too far and it needs
of
some sort of
course,
counterbalance to pull it back a little bit, right?
of
So you can't
course.
have like a pure hyper meritocracy where like it's like the libertarian wet dream where only the strong survive, right? Like you definitely need something, and you might need to step outside of the framework of meritocracy to get it.
Okay, I got
And
it.
and
So you're
that
saying right.
like charity, for example, is not a meritorious force in society, but it's still
Oh,
good, right?
right. Okay. So you're trying to use social. You're saying that you're trying to do this categorization of social welfare programs because you're saying that those things are good, and yet this shows you when like you shouldn't be hyper focused on merit, right?
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Okay. I think that's gonna backfire, but that's just me.
Well, it's still the truth. So,
I think the way that you argue that is gonna backfire. People are just saying, well, that's why we shouldn't have welfare programs of any sort. Fuck those people.
oh, maybe so. I can see libertarians being like, "Yeah, fuck them," and then I can see people, like from the other side too. Like, I get the point, but basically the idea is like, not to bring it back around to what you were saying earlier, Adam. You mentioned, you have like people who are anti-capitalist because they're losers in capitalism, and then you have people who are anti-democracy because they're losers in democracy, right? I think those people can be de-radicalized and brought into the fold as long as like society kind of throws them a bone. If there's something for them, I think they can come back. I basically like here. If America had universal healthcare right now, I do not think you'd have like 10% of the communists you currently have, for example.
That's
Yeah, I
probably
agree
a
with that.
good, yeah, probably a
Yeah.
good take.
So when it comes to the radical rightoids who are looking for some sort of techno monarchy or something, I mean, there's not very many of them, right? But there's probably a way to bring them back too. There's probably something that can maybe a stronger executive or something. But like there's something that can also bring them back into the fold, I'm sure.
Sure, we'll see.
I think like 99% of radicalization is not because someone feels strongly about some issue. It's because their life fucking sucks and they have nothing else.
Yeah, I agree completely. There's some problem in their life, and then trying to find meaning in why there's a problem in their life, and then you kind of get shunted down one of many rabbit holes, depending on where your preconceived moral intuitions are, probably. That'd be
Yeah,
my guess.
yeah. So that might mean that for people who are less meritorious, you throw them a bone, even if that means that you don't have a purely meritorious system.
Fondue for $20 says 6 minutes behind. My favorite argument to co-ops is the most successful ones are either culturally or ethnically homogenous. So implementing it on a larger scale would make an economic ethic divide between, I'm sorry, would make an economic ethic divide to separate the races. Ouch.
Okay, so what's interesting is I was looking into co-ops a couple years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw like it was like the Destiny versus Richard Wolf debate or like any of
Yeah.
these commies online. They talk about Mondragon from Spain, right? Is the
Mm-hmm.
best co-op and like
Oh, they
they show
love
that it
it.
can work.
Right.
I mean, it also has some pretty serious problems. But what they don't understand is like the reason that Spain is the home of the worker co-op. It's where like the model was first really put to the test and was shown to be successful, is because it was something that the Spanish fascists set up, right? Like the Franco wanted to do a whole bunch of worker co-ops because from his point of view, it was a very easy way to consolidate everything under the power of the state. If you bring the workers and the managers into one system rather than being opposed to each other like in a capitalist system, that system could be used by the government, right? So a lot of the advancements in like successful worker co-ops and how worker co-ops should be run, it came out of the Spanish fascists, and no leftist will ever fucking talk about that.
Nice. Casey Anderson for $20 says, breaking news, Gina Carano is officially suing Disney, Lucasfilms, and Elon Musk is paying for it. That's hilarious.
I saw that. Yeah, I should check. I should double check that.
I mean, good for her. I'm not sure what the ground, like, what are the grounds that she's suing?
Wrongful termination, obviously.
Yeah, but wrongful termination for what?
Yeah,
purpose?
That's not usually how it works with contract hire, like actor or actress. So.
What do you mean?
Well, they do unless they fired her in the middle of her contract.
Was she fired? I thought they just didn't re-sign her.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They didn't renew her contract, so usually But they were working on a spin-off show that was supposed to be based on her character because her character was so popular, and then I guess they got rid of that idea.
Carano's lawsuit claimed that there were male actors who worked with Disney that said things similar to what she said, but were not fired. Oh, maybe they're going to make like a sexist claim, maybe. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I'd be curious. I mean, I'm curious if that's true. Obviously, I think that she was fired or not rehired for completely bullshit reasons, but I'm not sure, unless there's some facts of this case that we don't know about, which is possible. I'm not sure her case is gonna succeed. So,
well, it's still fun though.
It is still fun. It'll be fun to cover. That's true. I mean, I hope she wins, but let's see. Emperor Carl France. Hey, Carl, for $20 says it's my last stream for a long time because I'm leaving for basic this Sunday. Well, it's awesome.
Wow.
So I want to give a little back for providing an amazing show these past few years. Thank you for providing so many hours of great content. Well, thank you so much, Carl.
Thank you. Thank
you.
And
good luck in basic. That's pretty based.
Yes. That's a challenge, right?
That is definitely a challenge.
Have you done any? I mean, I can't imagine me holding up very well in basic training.
I don't think I would either. So, I don't think Deb would either. But
Wait, sorry, I missed that. Sorry, what?
How do you think you'd fare in basic training?
Oh, terribly.
Yeah, okay. Do they even have basic training in Canada, or is it just like, you just put on like the red outfit and you go like help old ladies cross the street and bow down to you like draw like rainbows on sidewalks or something? Like, is that what you do in Canada?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Canada's so cut, guys. You don't even know.
It's true. But Canada is what they're calling it now. It's interesting. There's a new feature now that when someone super chats, people can like
it's awesome.
The super chat. That's interesting.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know they implement that.
I always wanted to do that. I'm like, we should be able to like this super chat.
That's cool.
But now people, look, you're getting your super chats are being voted on.
Yeah. I think you can super like it as a channel owner, right?
Well, we can, but that's been for a while. So.
Oh, okay. But it's nice that you can interact with the super chats in the chat, though. That's awesome. Yeah.
Emperor Carl France for another $5 says, also shout out to Dev for introducing me to you guys a few years ago and for being a base liberal on Twitter and in his videos. Well, look at that. I didn't even know that was the connection.
Wow.
Look at that. Good for you. Look at that, Dev. You brought Carl into our lives. Thank you, Dev.
No problem.
Jonathan,
I will sacrifice all my popularity just to bring him over to this channel.
Thank you. As you should.
I'll go live and be like, "Where's everyone?"
I know listen, Dev is lying, okay? He's just lying when he's on our channel. Because when he's on his channel, he tries to sucker J-Mac and Sammy G away from the Sitch and Adam show. Okay? I've heard the things he's saying.
Does he? What's he saying?
He tries to get J-Mac's money and Sammy's art.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's terrible.
Listen,
but he's not talking smack about us, right?
No, he's just trying to steal them from us.
So listen, I'm at the bottom of the hierarchy here, all right? And I know that you guys got there on pure merit, of course.
What do you mean? You have higher
But
subs than us.
but
You're
there
above
still
us. What are you
needs to
talking
be
about?
some sort of redistribution down
No,
towards the bottom.
no, you have more subs than us, so therefore we get to
That
attack
doesn't
you relentlessly.
that doesn't mean anything on YouTube.
We're
It's all about
punching up.
consecutive viewers now.
It's all about
Okay.
subs.
You get good
You-
views. What are you talking about?
You guys get like double my stream views nowadays.
Stream views, but your channel views are much higher than ours.
Yeah.
Are they? I don't know. I didn't look into that.
I'm sure
I'm only
they are.
listen. I'm only looking at the numbers that benefit my argument.
Oh, okay, classic. Classic. Okay, fair enough. That's a good strategy.
Are you
Jonathan
covering
Smith-
election stuff, Dev? Or,
Probably, yeah.
I mean, you're Canadian, so are you really even that interested in American politics?
That's all Canadians are interested in.
Okay. Look, every once in a while I see a video on Canadian politics or British politics, and I'm like, oh, why'd I click on this?
Well, you should be interested in it because all these
Why?
policies overlap. Yeah.
No one cares about it.
I know that Americans don't think it to be the case, but the entire Anglo-sphere is kind of connected and like policies influence policies. So you should be interested.
It is interesting to hear British people talk about wokeness. Yeah.
Listen here, you know what? I don't blame the Brit bongers for being as black pilled as they are. Like the UK is currently fucking crumbling into the sea.
Well, all their
They have-
immigrants are Islamic, and all our immigrants are Catholic. So I feel like we have a
That's
better
pretty big
quality.
difference,
Yeah, it's like qualitatively different.
yeah. Like you don't have like packs of Muslims running around with machetes.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
The fucking
Going
hacking people
infidel,
up in the street.
infidel.
Yeah. Like the issue, well, this is what I mean by like the Anglosphere being connected is like the elites in the UK, they're playing by an American political rule book, and they're importing like American political terminology. You know, to hear like like Black Lives Matter in the UK talk, it sounds like they're Americans, but they're not, because the UK has a different relationship. Yeah. The UK has a different relationship with race than America does, right? So, but because it's all English, they're just importing the ideology and it doesn't fit. And so the issue is like, America is a nation of immigrants. Well, okay, that makes sense. Britain's a nation of immigrants. Well, no, it's not. It has an indigenous population.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But they're trying to transplant in the same morals, and it just doesn't fit. And now you have a bunch of people in the UK who are hyper radicalizing towards the nationalist side of things, because American leftism is significantly further to the left. I know people in America don't think this, but it's the truth. American leftism is way more to the left than European leftism is.
Yeah.
True. Jonathan Smith for $20 says, I would love for you guys to have Arch from Archcast on here sometimes, and I'd love to hear Adam and Sitch where he sits politically after hearing him talk. What does that,
Arch?
what does that mean?
Arch from the Archcast.
No, I know who he is, but what does the second part of that mean?
It means that Arch is going to convince us that all of our liberal ways are completely wrong, and we're going to...
What is Arch's position?
He's like center right. He's not as right wing as Sargon is nowadays, but in the ways in which he is right wing, he's pretty right wing.
Okay.
But he's a good friend of mine, though. I talk to him like pretty much every day. He's a good guy.
Right.
I can vouch that he'd be cool. I just don't think you'd agree with him that much.
Mm-hmm. Majin for $20. Thank you, Majin. Says, so I hear Dev is for monarchy. I can't believe you guys are just sitting here agreeing while talking about Dragon Ball Super being a better example of a Gary Stew than Saitama. Hi, Adam.
Hi.
Saitama's not a Gary Stew. Who would ever make such a stupid comment?
Saitama?
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I'm only really into monarchy in like the constitutional sense. Like, you know, Canada, the UK, they have pretty decent monarchies because they're not absolute monarchies, right? So, yeah, that's fine.
Hold on. I know that Majin is like joking, but let me address this because Adam said a little bit.
The Gary Stew thing?
Right. So the Gary Stew, Mary Sue thing. So, okay. Saitama, the main character from One Punch Man, is not a Mary Sue / Gary Stew in any regards whatsoever. He's an overpowered character, which is different. Okay. Because one of the key components of the Mary Stew, Gary Stew, is that number one, they generally are gifted their power through some kind of bullshit mechanism, which Saitama sort of is, but isn't, because there's a whole very complicated thing I'm not going to get into about how power works in One Punch Man. Number one. But number two,
but it all occurred off screen, so.
Well, sure. But number two, the more important aspect of that, people concentrate too much on like the physical power of a character when they talk about Mary Sue's and Gary Stu's. That's not really the key component here. The key component of a Mary Sue character is not their physical power. The original name was based off of a Star Trek fan fiction character who was a up and coming young cadet that everyone loved for no reason and just did whatever she said, and she was like just the most smartest, competent person around. Okay, so like the main part of a
This is
Mary
some
Sue
deep lore,
character,
Sitch.
right?
Some
I
deep
know, but I'm
lore.
just saying the main part of a Mary.
Saitama is not,
I know.
beloved by all. Yeah.
Well, but exactly. That's like the thing is like, so this is why when people talk about Rey, it's like not only is she like just powerful for no reason in ways that don't make any sense to the logic of the show, which obviously the entire logic of One Punch Man is his power, so that doesn't apply here, but that everyone just seems to like her and it doesn't make sense. Like she fixes, not only does she fix the Millennium Falcon when Han Solo can't, but then Han Solo like instantly basically likes her. You know, Finn like instantly falls in love with her. All these characters, you know, fucking the bad guy falls in love with her. All these characters are like obsessed with Rey. Palpatine like wants her body, right? And so, and everyone thinks she's like just so awesome and she's just so hyper competent. Everyone, not like almost everyone in the show either doesn't know who Saitama is or doesn't like him or
Right.
thinks he's a
Yeah.
weirdo. Or they just want to use him for their own selfish reasons. Nobody's like, there's very few. Saitama only has one actual friend in the entire show, and it's King. Everyone else even Genos really isn't his friend. He
You're
just
right.
wants him to like train him so that he'll become as powerful, and he kind of respects him for that. But they're not really friends, you know. They don't have like a friend relationship. So Saitama is not a Mary Sue even remotely at all, and he's actually not even very competent. Saitama is like constantly fucking up and showing up super late. And even when he does like defeat the bad guy, often he causes like a lot of collateral damage. That was the whole thing with the
Yeah.
meteor. And he blows up the meteor, but it still like destroys the city essentially. So stop it. I know you're just
People
joking.
hate
Stop.
collateral damage.
Right.
So sad.
No. Saitama's a brilliant character.
So sad.
It is. Okay. J-Mac, our surrogate father for $20. There he is.
Look at
stand
that.
for most Dev.
Woo!
Says, hey Dev, when are you going to convince Sitch and Adam to come die with you playing D&D on stream? They could be your pincushion pals.
Yeah.
I would have done it if that $20 went to me, J-Mac.
Ah,
Wow, look at this.
look at this.
So the joke right now is, you guys know about like Sargon's new D&D campaign? You know what's going on?
No.
Okay, well, we're all playing. It's a fun time. My character just fucking died in one hit, in one turn. I took 56 damage in one turn and just ate it. So
How did
DMing?
you take 56
Sargon
damage?
is.
You roll like a 60 dice and you rolled a 56?
So we were being ambushed and there was 20 archers pointed at me. I decided to run for it. And
Okay.
7 of the arrows hit.
Oh,
and
wow.
I got hit
That's not
56
good.
damage in one turn.
That's
So I
not
just
good.
fucking, I had 26 HP. So when
Oh,
you
so
go
you just
over,
died. You didn't even get unconscious. You fucking died.
Nope. Yeah. So with 20, so if you go below 0 HP, you start having like death saves and stuff. But if you go, if you have in one turn minus more than your max, you just instantly die. So I just got destroyed.
That's
like, oh,
hilarious.
Wow.
Done.
That's sad. You lost
long
a
were you guys
character
playing
in
with
front
that
of
character?
everyone.
We've been playing for a few months now. Yeah.
What did you
All
do?
that
You
for
just have to
nothing.
sit there on stream while everyone else plays, or did you just leave?
I just sat around. Yeah, it's fine. We're just hanging out.
Okay.
It's always fun.
How embarrassing.
Yeah, that's awful. I would be like, later, guys. Bye.
Don't you forget about me. Dad just like fades out of the stream.
Exactly.
Don't.
I'll be alone playing D&D by myself.
Well, the quest now is to revive my character because they all want me back.
Oh, they're
So
carrying your
Oh,
body
they're gonna bring
around,
you
are they?
back. Okay,
Yeah.
Look
that's
at
good.
this.
they
What great
have 10
friends.
days.
No
They have
one had
10
a
days to carry my body
resurrection
around.
potion?
Nope, unfortunately not.
That's
Did
so
anyone else?
sad.
Did anyone else die, or like, was there no reason to run away? Everyone else just like got arrested and just ran away for no reason and died stupidly.
V died, but he didn't get like that many. He didn't lose that much HP, so he was able to be revived.
He was
He still
unconscious.
had like he had yeah. So
Right.
I now they were mugging us, right? And it's like, give us all your gold. And I was like, fuck that. And I just ran. I wanted to try to run and it didn't work out.
Should have given the
So
gold. Okay. Don't you know the rules? Your life isn't worth your money. Okay. That's rule number one.
everyone else give up the money after that.
There you
I was the
go.
example.
God. Can't believe you
Wow.
got robbed. Adherent of Lady Columbia for $5 says Arch is based and bleach pilled. Import all the cute tan and brown minority tomboys.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
That's me and Adam's new immigration plan. I don't know if you heard this, is we should only allow women to cross the border and they have to be a certain level of hotness.
Yep. That's the way.
Yeah. So there you
Yep.
go. Me and I would be happy to be the border inspectors to make that determination. So
There's a few porns about that actually.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, there's like border inspection porn where they shoot it out in the desert. It's like, really, guys?
Wow.
For some reason, I'm not even remotely surprised
That's very
that
sad.
you know about this.
That's very sad. I'm sad
Very
that I
sad.
know about this now.
There you go.
Terrible.
The Real Holtonator for $10 says, "Hi, Sitch and Adam. Good of you to have the Little Red Bridge on. That
Yeah, what
ability
does
to
that
bounce
mean?
back is why Sitch and Adam have better streams."
What
What does that mean?
What? Fuck you, Holtzinator. God damn it.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, what does it
The
mean?
Little Red Bridge is Arch's nickname for me because
Oh,
he started calling me that ever since I talked to Brianna Wu.
Well, we
Because
talked
like
he
because
said-
you're
so.
building a bridge between you and her, and you're a communist. Is that?
No, because she's the communist, and that
Oh,
I'm going to
oh,
I'm gonna be the bridge by which communism enters into our sphere on the internet
She's
again.
like hyper not communist. She's
Yeah, what
she's
are you
very
talking about?
like she's very liberal, left wing Democrat, but she's not communist at all.
She's capitalist all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, the right wing views the progressive Democrat capitalist, like business oriented types, as nonetheless being a flavor of communism.
Whenever anyone does that, I instantly lose any sympathy when they're called racist, you know, surreptitiously. It's true. It's true. Look, it's just the throwing around the commie label too much is the same as throwing around the racist label too much.
Right.
Yeah.
It just waters
thing.
it down.
So,
yeah.
I mean, since we talked about my video about, the flaw of liberalism or the undermine, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
And
your
basically,
terrible
like,
video where I
fuck
talked about how you were wrong.
All right. So, listen, that's enough.
I struck a nerve, chat.
What was the video?
I struck a nerve.
Shitting on my videos. You invite me on to shit on my videos, and then you're gonna co-op my audience and have them super chat you more than me.
What was the video?
This entire proposition's a negative.
I am Dev. I'm in your audience, stealing it for the good of our show.
Okay, so I did a video outlining or steel manning Sargon's position of why liberalism is weak to communist subversion.
It was in in his conflict with James Lindsay and Helen Plucker.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we've discussed too, obviously. But
I even said at the start of the video, I've had this conversation with you guys before, right? Yeah. So I described Sargon's position. At the end of the day, though, I do still think that and he's heard this from a lot of people, not just me, that his use of communism to refer to not only communism itself, but anything that is communist adjacent and anything that could be easily pipelined into communism, that is a massive widening of the term that isn't really appropriate.
Yeah, I agree completely. Well, and this is what we said, when we talked to him about this a million times in the past. The central argument just doesn't make sense because anything can lead to anything, really. And so it's if you have all these all these countries that were basically monarchs or some sort of autocracies that fell to communism, which I don't know the numbers offhand, but I believe, and maybe you know this, I believe that the majority of countries that became communists, they weren't democracies before they became communist.
China was a monarchy.
Yeah, they were like a monarchy or something. And so then you could just say, well, I guess that means monarchies lead to communism because that's that's the progress that they've gone in history, right? And that argument doesn't really make sense to me to make on that level.
Mm-hmm. What's actually going on here is that liberal capitalist democracies tend to have a lot more decentralized power than monarchies do, so it's harder to simply seize by toppling one institution.
Right.
I think my argument I think the argument that if 51% of the population becomes economic losers, I think that is more likely to lead to communism than anything, even if it's under a monarchical
Sure.
rule. Yeah, I
Yep.
think that's a much better argument because then they're motivated to do that kind of thing,
Right.
not just ideology.
We're in any instability is going to make it far more likely to lead to a more extreme political system like communism or fascism.
Yep.
And so when you have a monarchy, it's going to be more likely that there's going to be massive instability in the country regarding like how everyone feels about their economic situation, how everyone feels about their political situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Don't indulge him.
Yeah, stop
Don't
indulging.
indulge him,
Dev. Artemis just donated $5 to say, "Here's the money I was going to give to Dev."
Thank you, Artemis Fowl.
That's awesome. Look at that.
There you go. Listen, we're better. We're just better than you. I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
You got to have more strokes on stream, Dev. Everyone loves it.
They don't like your wishy-washy nuance. Okay,
it's
that's
comedy
the problem.
gold. Oh,
actually,
yeah,
you know what I think it is? You know what I think it is?
What?
I need a partner in crime. Because whenever I stream, like I know I had Lilith for a while, but Lilith had some like IRL situation. She can't really do things anymore. We're still friends and everything, but like she just has some stuff going on. But like whenever it's me streaming, I get about half your current viewers. But whenever it's me and Arch streaming doing the Archcast, we get about this much. So I think it's the fact that you need a partner to bounce off of, you know?
Maybe. I mean,
conversation is better than just talking to the chat. Look, those streams are kind of, a lot of people do that. They just talk to their chat. And I mean, they don't even really do it very effectively because if you're talking to your chat, you should at least say what the chat is saying, not just read the chat and respond to it. It's like you're hearing half of a conversation, like someone's talking on the phone in the room, but you're not hearing the other half of the conversation. You're trying to figure it out. Terrible content, man. So, yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you in theory. Like, it's much easier for me to talk by having Adam here, and like I talking to a person, right? I'm not talking to a void or to like a screen. But I don't know, like it's like a lot of streamers, probably the majority of streamers do just talk to the screen. They just talk to chat, and they seem to do very well. So,
I mean, yeah, but when you look at Destiny's content, for example, his best moments are when he like hops into a debate with somebody, right?
Yeah,
when he's just chilling on his own.
The parts that he's clipping out and uploading are not him talking to the chat.
Yeah,
that is true.
Or like him just playing League of Legends for hours on end.
Yeah,
right. But I wasn't really talking about. I was talking about like XQC and all like the big asthma gold. Don't they just like talk to themselves in the chat mostly?
Well, even for them, like their best moments are when they're reacting to a video, and that's a whole other conversation.
Their best moments are when they find a good video that everyone wants to see.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, they put it up on the screen and then upload it.
Like there is the they stole content conversation. Yeah. But like in terms of the structure of the stream, when you're reacting to a video, that's kind of the same thing as having a conversation with somebody else, because the other conversation partner is the video, right? So it's not just you talking to a void. Now you're talking to a video that has its own ideas.
That's
why that becomes like the best part of the stream, is because it kind of takes the place of having a partner.
It's not the same though, because when you're watching a video, there's this thing called second order observation going on. So you're getting someone's reaction to a piece of content. When you're having a conversation, you would need a third person to react to the conversation to get the same second order observation effect.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yes. A lot of people, it's uncomfortable for them to watch content because they're like, how am I supposed to react to this? Well, how is everybody else reacting to this? Is this good? Is this bad? I want to have the right opinion on this piece of content. So that's why React content is so popular, because it sets people's opinion on certain things.
So this sounds like the lower half of the IQ people who just can't enjoy something on their own.
I mean, if you want to be elitist about it.
Yes, I do.
Geez.
Okay,
yes.
Totally
Listen,
elitist.
for all of our fans that want to know how to think about things for listening to us, we love you and appreciate you, and you are high IQ. Okay, don't listen to Dev.
Well, you see, look, you see this if some movie or TV show comes out and it's difficult to tell what the reaction is going to be. Like it's good, kind of good. There's things to hate about it. So a lot of people are like, I'm going to kind of wait and see how public opinion materializes before I throw in both feet on this take that I have, right? They want to be on the right side of this. They want to have the right opinion. They definitely want to have the right opinion on it, right?
Yeah, I guess this is the inverse of what I mentioned earlier about, I mean, Hasan giving the hot take as quickly as possible because it virtue signals that he has the right politics, right?
Yeah,
The
but that's
inverse
when
of
the
that,
opinion is clear. See, what I set
yeah,
up was like the opinion is not necessarily clear.
yeah, because that's when you're like, I don't know what the correct opinion is, so I got to go figure it out first. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
what you should do is say what you actually think, regardless of its political efficacy.
Well, that's
And
why we make the
yeah.
big bucks and you don't. Jeff,
Okay,
look,
that's
come on.
fine. I mean, listen,
Look,
listen,
I'm
listen.
kidding.
If
Look,
I
I'm
if I'm
kidding.
sacrificing the money and the views to be more closer to the truth, I'll take it, baby.
Look, I'm joking. I'm totally joking. We're in the same boat as you. Oftentimes we're giving our own honest opinion and everyone is completely against us. So, look.
Yeah, that happens a lot with me too.
Yeah.
I think I did it. Yeah, I did a video like a week ago or something called "The Queer Problem," right?
Yes.
And it's a discussion of critical queer theory. Well, they only a surface level discussion, but still a discussion of it. And there was someone who responded to me who was quite far left, and this person said something like, how is it that you can say these sort of things when, like, trans people are suffering, and you can't, like, why are you complaining about queer as a label because it helps people out. I replied to him, I was like, listen, the reason that I say these things is because it's the truth. All right, I'm not going to make an argument about whether it's good or bad for a certain movement, or whether it's more or less politically efficacious. I'm just going to say, like, this is true. And whatever your ideas are, they have to reroute around that, because the truth comes first and your ideology comes second, right? And it was almost like we were talking past each other in this comment conversation, because this other person was just like, well, it's bad for trans people. I'm like, yeah, but it's true. And then she was like, but it's bad for trans people. It's like, well, no, the truth matters more than whether or not it's good for trans people.
Most people don't agree with that, though. Most people think if it's true and it's bad, we just don't talk about it.
That's bad, though. You should talk about it.
Yeah, look, I believe in the power of truth as well. But I understand. It's weird because it is a true thing that a lot of times people will be happier and more successful if they embrace the untruth.
Yeah, sometimes.
That is a truth. That is a truism.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
there's always
sad.
the conversation of, like, your girlfriend cheated on you. She actually will never do it again if you just stay with her. Do you want to know? And if you go for the truth, you might actually end up making your life worse than if you didn't,
Right.
That's the metaphorical truth versus objective truth conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. Sure.
Sitch loves metaphorical truth.
I love it.
He's in with both feet.
Dago Design for $7 says, real debate question, are random crits fair and balanced? And also, do random crits lead to communism?
What's a random crit?
I think like like a critical hit in like D&D or something.
Oh.
Yeah, when you like roll a 20, you get like an extra damage dice attached.
Okay.
Like, what's wrong with random crits, man?
I think random crits are fine usually in most games. There's some games that they're bullshit, but most games are fine.
This is like just some random thing that kills your character.
I mean, it could be, or it could actually help
fact.
you. Oh, did you get crit? Is that the problem?
I think I did at one point. Yeah,
get crit by one of those arrows.
Out of those 7 arrows,
one of them crit.
I hate. Look, I don't like that.
I think the lack of random crits could lead to communism because you're trying to make everything more uniform. You're like, oh no, we got to reduce. Everything's got to have a more equal outcome. So get rid of the random crits.
Yeah, you're redistributing the damage.
There you go.
Exactly. I remember. Oh man, there was some fucking lefty nerd online who was writing an essay and he said that the blue shell in Mario Kart was communism because if you get too far ahead of the pack, it'll just come in and destroy you, and it redistributes the placings in the race.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the most retarded shit you can find online comes out of these communities.
Oh, they're talking about TF2, the random crits. Yeah, so okay. Even when I played TF2 like years ago, people always there's always a controversy about random crits in TF2. Um, I think that random crits in like normal pub play for TF2 is totally fine. I understand like if people are doing like the professional servers and shit, then yeah, you get rid of random crits. That completely makes sense. But in like just normal pub play, just people just logging in and playing with like 12-year-olds, like, it shouldn't. I understand because I'm a very competitive person, especially when I play FPSs, but you got to try to just not take things so seriously so that when you get hit by the random crit rocket and explode, that's just the way it goes. Okay.
Wow.
Oh
So,
man, so I think I was the most cancerous TF2 player back in the day because
oh, really?
I had that one rifle for the sniper
Mm-hmm.
where once you fully charged
You
it for
shoot
like
through
three
people?
seconds,
Yeah.
yeah, it shot through, but it dealt like headshot damage even on their body shots. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, did well no, so okay. So yeah, it would do 150 on a body shot. So you
Yeah,
could one shot all the small classes by just hitting them in the chest. Yeah.
rather than having to headshot them,
Right,
right?
and it would go
I forget what it was
through, it would
called.
pierce. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't remember either, but yeah, I was pretty decent as a sniper in TF2, so I remember what you're talking about, yeah.
yeah, yeah. People complained so much about that shit because like it's no real skill. You're not actually earning your crit from a headshot.
Oh, Dr. Diller knows the machine, yeah, the machina. I always
Oh,
call it
okay,
the
yeah.
machine. Yes, that was the rifle. Yeah. But that was
What was
always
the
a sign of the noob is you'd see because if you ever play TF2, whenever you kill someone on the top right of the screen, it shows like the server who killed who and how they killed them, like with what weapon. And so when you see the one guy who's killing all the people by getting body shots, because it shows if it's a headshot or body shot, when you show the one guy who's getting all the body shots with the machine, you'd be like, oh, that's the noob sniper.
and that was me every
That was
time.
Dev. And see, that's when I would be the spy and I would backstab the fuck out of you, or I would be a scout and I would hit you with the baseball bat and then with a ball from like across the map and throw the cleaver at you from like a million miles away, and you'd just be like, "Oh no!" and you'd slowly like bleed to death and die.
What's the map like? Are you camping out? Where are you camping out for
Yeah, where are you
this?
camping, Dev? He's camping somewhere.
I
He's a
don't remember
sniper.
all the maps.
Oh
Where's
my
your
I don't
camp?
remember
God,
all
What?
of them.
You
who's
camping in the
camping?
woods? You camping in the forest?
The most fun thing for me, and I was only like semi decent with it on the sniper, was the bow and arrow. It was just so. Oh my God. It was so there's some visceral joy that I can't explain that when you headshot someone with an arrow. Okay, so if when you use the bow and arrow in TF2, when you hit someone and you kill them, it like actually goes through them and it sticks their body to like whatever's behind them.
Yeah.
And there's just some visceral joy. I don't know why. Some sick visceral joy when I'd headshot someone as a sniper with the bow and arrow, and their body would be like pinned to the wall by their head.
Where
It's just so nice.
where can you get in vehicles and drive and fly
There's no
and stuff in
vehicles
this
in
game?
TF2.
No, no,
No
no,
vehicles? Oh,
No
damn.
vehicles.
no.
That sucks.
TF2 is basically just a ripoff of Overwatch.
That sucks.
That's very funny. I'm not going to respond to that comment.
Was that too much trolling for you?
No, I understand the troll, but I'm not gonna get baited by that. Okay. It's not hit scan. Yeah, it's just something so ooh, I just get a little tingle when that little arrow goes ding, and it hits on right in the head. You're like, ah, so good.
Is that from
So
the cleaver
delicious.
or the sniper rifle?
Well, I was way better for some reason. I've always been really good at aiming um like I don't know what the word is, a weapon that has to be lobbed,
Right.
that has an arc. My aim with arcing things in games has always been really good, and I don't know why. And
Hmm.
so the cleaver, when you throw it, it has like an arc to it. So I'm actually like was way better. It makes no sense. I was way better at hitting people with the arcing cleaver from like across the map than the arrow, which went more straight. It
Really?
had a little bit of an
Wow.
arc, but it was more straight. So, and also
This,
getting killed by the cleaver is so much more obnoxious because you
yeah, it
slowly
is.
bleed
It
to
just
death.
comes out of the air from nowhere and like,
Yeah. Well, first you hit someone with a baseball bat from across the map, and it makes a really loud like baseball sound, and And when it hits you, you either get stunned or slowed, and you go, "Oh fuck!" And then you see from across the map the fucking cleaver go, doosh, hit you, and then you slowly bleed to death, and you're like, "Fuck!" Oh man, people get really mad about that.
Wow.
That or using the force of nature to knock people off the map as a scout was always lots of fun. I want to play TF2 again. I feel like I'd probably be awful at it because like it's been a long time, and as you get older, the neurons just don't fire as fast, and your
Yeah.
eyes just aren't as quick anymore, and I'd probably like just get my
And,
ass annihilated.
and there's also a new meta now with new items. Yeah.
Oh, really? There's new weapons and everything.
Yep. Things are
Interesting.
different nowadays,
Oh
man.
my God, things are different. They're probably not that different.
No, the Valve really slowed down after TF2's 2012 heyday. They kind of slowed down with the updates, but there's a few new weapons that have kind of taken over.
Okay.
I mean, it's the maps look just like Half-Life did back in the day. It doesn't look like it's
Same
It's made
engine.
by the
That's
same
why,
company,
yeah.
so that makes
yeah, of
company, same
course,
engine, yeah.
Valve. Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking how little it changed over the decade.
Well, TF2 came out like very shortly after Half-Life 2. So I mean,
I think it was
Oh, okay.
2006 it came out or something.
that game
It's an
is
old game.
ancient. Yeah.
I've
It's
been
an old
running
game.
all
It's just that
over.
they kept updating it because everyone just kept wanting to play it. It's like this is the
Yes.
one.
Does it
Yes.
have
It's
a
probably-
capture the flag or?
It does.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
That's I would
Capture
pretty
the
much
flag
only
is the best game.
I would pretty much play mostly like 90% Capture the Flag.
Yeah, capture the flag.
Really? I was always a
Yes.
payload guy. I like payload.
So the reason I like Capture the Flag in most games versus
There's some
payload or capture
strategy.
points
Yeah.
is because in payload maps or capture point maps in TF2, they become these like cluster fucks of like everyone defending a point, just lobbing rockets and missiles and grenades at that area at like a choke point, and then you stuck at the choke point slowly trying to breach it. And the way that I like to play first-person shooters is that I like to just be my own like guy out in the field by myself,
Yeah,
just like picking
exactly.
people off and just doing like sneaky shit. That's why I always like to play the scout or spy because I just like to be like out there somewhere on my own. And Capture the Flag was the most conducive, except for 2-4, which is why I hate it, was the most conducive to allow me to just be like a free agent roaming the map, doing my own shit, zooming in and out of things, not having to worry about like massive choke points that you just can't get around.
Can you take the flag and secretly no one can see where the flag is? That's always
Yes.
like the best feature. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where no one knows where the flag is, you're like totally sneaking around. You're like, I'm almost there. No one knows I have the flag.
Yeah,
That is pretty fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm trying to remember. Actually, I don't remember. It's been so long. In TF2, I think when you take the flag, I don't think other people. Or is it like a little arrow direction?
If
that
someone
points where you
sees
are?
you, if someone sees you, like I believe in Half-Life, if someone sees you with the flag, it pops up on the map. But
So
okay.
no
when
one's-
when you take a flag, it's a briefcase in
It's a
TF2,
briefcase,
right?
yeah.
And as you run
Okay.
away, documents fly out of the briefcase, so you leave a trail.
Oh, okay.
Right, but you
okay.
have to be pretty
That's
close
good.
already to see the trail. Like if you're not there.
Yeah, the trail fades away. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's what I remember. Yeah, Dr. was right. Like at the top of your screen, it gives you like a general arrow direction of like kind of vaguely where they are.
Oh, okay. So it
But it
points you
doesn't,
towards
it's
the
not very
flag.
specific. Yeah.
Right.
So, but usually like when you get good at the maps, you know all the routes
Of
people would
course.
take. So you
Learning the new map. Oh man.
right, yeah, you can figure it out. So,
Yes.
okay.
All these maps look basically just like Half-Life. Well, they're different than the old
Sure.
Half-Life maps, but
The only class I was not good at on TF2 was heavy, medic, and pyro. I was pretty good at everything else.
I think the one that I was probably the worst at was probably spy. I could play all of them competently, but I think I was just a
like the
bad
most
spy.
fun. It was so good. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
Spy is the noob trap because everyone wants to play spy. It's the class that's like the most different than any other FPS class you've ever played because you can go invisible. You can change into other team, like the teammates that look like the other team, and you can one-shot insta-kill people if you stab them from behind. And so everyone wants to play it because it's just so different. But it's also like probably one of the hardest classes to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the most that's the most satisfying to play. And like there was like the people that got like so good at it that could do. I could never do the stabby stab like twisty, like run past someone, do a 360, like jump in the air, stab them in the back before they can react thing that like
Oh
the tail
God,
spies could
yeah.
do. Yeah, that like crazy shit. But it was really like the way it works, Adam, is because everyone expects a spy. So whenever you see a teammate, you just shoot them instinctively just to make
Right.
sure they're not a spy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so because there's no friendly fire for most of the map, so that's how you spy check. You just shoot them.
Okay, and if it does damage, you know it's a spy.
Right, but you don't know, like, so if someone is a spy and you shoot them, it doesn't notify you that you're doing damage,
Okay.
right? Unless you're a pyro and you light them on fire, they'll go on fire.
So if they shoot
But
back, you know they're a spy.
right, so you could be a spy and you can get shot and still like act like you're not getting hit, and some that like fools people.
All the way down to like nothing. Come
Yeah,
on.
I've done that where you're like running as a spy and they're shooting you and you just like walk by like nothing's happening and then you go, oh, I guess he's not a spy, right? And then you just stab him on the
As
back.
soon as he dies.
Right.
So guys, chat, just so you guys understand, some of you younger people understand, TF2 is basically a ripoff of Among Us.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ripoff of Among Us and Overwatch combined.
Yep.
But and then the other way to check for spies is that like with your teammates, you can run through your teammates. They don't have like a physical property to them when you touch them. But people other team you can't run through them. You like hit like a wall, like they're like a physical object. So another way to check for spies is if you actually touch them and you can't move past them, you go as a spy. But so like the way to be like a really effective spy would be you would get to, and also like if you're on your team and you see someone from your team running towards you from the wrong direction, that's like a very telltale sign that that is a spy. You're like, wait, why the fuck is there a pyro running out of the enemy base towards, from my team towards me? That doesn't make any sense, right? So like the real strategy to do would be you would you get invisible to like in their base, and then you transform into like a character, like a sniper or an engineer, someone that makes sense that's in the back, and you kind of like sneak up towards the front, or you transform into someone at like that like has been around in that area like recently, and then you kill them. It's so satisfying when you kill someone. Just oh my god,
Mhm.
they get so mad.
Yeah, what I think what got people the most angry is when you could abuse the hitbox by jumping over someone and like stabbing them in the head from top down, and that would count as a backstab because it was just like a flat. If you're behind them, it's a backstab.
Right. Yeah,
so you could like front stab people and one shot them because you like abuse the mechanics.
yes, I was never very good at doing any of the trick stab stuff. I just had to rely on like standard stuff. But and then it was kind of even more broken because then they gave the spy the gun that shoots headshots that does like 105 damage, but it's like hard to aim. But if you got good with it, it was like, oh no, I've been found as a spy. Well, I can still headshot you twice and you die. It's like what the fuck. So no, but I thought spy was the most fun. Dr. Diller says, please play TF2. I want to backstab Adam so badly. That would be really funny.
Let's do it.
Adam would be a pyro.
All you backstabbers can have me.
Adam would be a pyro. He's just gonna spin in circles, throwing fire everywhere. Like you can never backstab me.
I like the trip mines. I'm like a trip mine artist.
There's no trip mine.
Oh, well, there's sticky
sad.
bombs.
I'm sorry, you're right. There's sticky bombs. Never mind. There are trip mines. Yeah. But very few people
set
actually
up a trip mine, and you're like, I'm over here. Come get me.
I feel like very few people even use the sticky bombs anymore because everyone uses like the sword charge on the demo instead of the sticky bombs. But yeah, there is a character that can do like remote mines if you want. So that is true. I take it back.
Yeah.
You could be the black he's Scottish or Irish. You could be the black Scottish guy.
Yeah, he's black and Scottish. And that was considered a joke back then.
He was a black Scottish Cyclops. He was really hitting like all the privilege, all the oppressed minority marks there.
So, Adam, you want to talk about a tweet, right? That was like 2 hours ago.
No, we're good. I'm changing the title to talking to ShortFatOtaku about games. And what else do we talk about? I guess we
can still talk about the tweet. That's
immigration, liberalism, video games.
Did we talk about immigration?
The tweet was intended to be incendiary, and it got like a bad response because it wasn't intended to be incendiary. But it just
I'm actually curious about it. Hold on. A market is any place where people exchange goods. Democracy is a market where votes are traded for public policy. If you are pro-markets, you are pro-democracy. If you are anti-democracy, you want to abolish this votes for policy market and create a planned public policy economy.
Right.
That's the tweet.
Yes. Designed
What kind of
definitely to be incendiary because people who like, well, no, the good thing that came out of it was I realized most people only perceive of markets from their own personal perspective. So their understanding of a market is I give somebody money and they give me something. That's like the extent of it. They don't necessarily have any respect for democracy because they don't understand the incentives of like the market system.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of libertarians would look at this and agree with you and probably call it bad.
No,
right?
no.
Because no, I think so. I think so because
no,
a
the
lot of
libertarians didn't agree with me at all. They're like, look, if democracy is force and therefore it's not a market. If you're compelled or there's not substitutions, it's not a market. That's what they basically said.
Okay, yeah, that's all fair. No, but what I'm thinking more of is like you see a lot of libertarian types say that.
That's not fair. But anyway, continue.
Wait.
Well, look, just because you have a force component. Well, no, what they're saying, just because there's a force component, like you're forced to buy auto insurance in many states, right? Does that automatically make the insurance not a market? Is insurance not a market because you're compelled to buy something?
No, I understand. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, but I know what I mean is like a libertarian position that I've heard is that democracy is bad is because poor people can vote themselves rich people's property, right? I've heard that a lot out of libertarians. And and what you're saying here seems to just lean right into that idea where you say democracy is a market where votes are traded for public policy. A libertarian might say that's true and that's bad.
Right. Yeah. Well, look, there's only really one good thing that I see about democracy, and it's the market action that democracy has. In the same way that a market forces elites to develop products and services that a wide number of people want to purchase, democracy functions in that same way. Like most people don't perceive that being a part of the market, that the market literally coerces people, coerces elites into making things that are beneficial. A lot of people do understand that, and they say this all the time. They're like, this is why markets are great. Markets are great because these elites produce something that people want, and if they don't produce something people want, they go out of business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's the exact same action that takes place in democracy. The elites are supposed to produce a public policy that makes 51% of the people vote for them, or they get voted out of office, which is the equivalent of going out of business.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's just that like when it comes to libertarians and democracy, they're very much like, hey, listen, why should other people be able to vote themselves what I own? Right? That should be my stuff, not your stuff. And that's what they view taxation as, and that's kind of their view of it.
Yeah, I don't think you can. The state exists to protect property rights. So I don't see how you have how you have property rights without a functioning judicial system.
Yeah, I think it ends up being one of those things where it's like a necessary evil. You know, like no one likes paying taxes, but the world's probably better with them than without.
Yeah, and look, all the people, I'm just like, what's the democracy alternative? That's why the tweet intended to be incendiary, because aren't all the democracy alternatives centralizing power? And one of the things that's great about markets is it decentralizes power. What's a democracy alternative that's decentralized?
I guess when it comes to, anarchy, right?
That's decentralized power.
Yeah, the anarchists think so anyway, because the anarchist ideal is no government at all, everything's held collectively, and we all just kind of. Okay, here's the thing. So there are political.
That's not anarchy. Okay.
So there are political theories where there is more decentralized power, but none of them actually work. is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think anarchy. I think anarchy in theory is decentralized power, but anarchy, just no rules, if that's what you mean by anarchy, is whoever is the strongest is going to take all the stuff.
Yep.
So that's
Oh,
going
you
to
know what we can do?
concentrate
Okay.
power.
Okay, forget about mold bugs. Sitch, let's talk about the anarcho-nationalists.
What?
Remember I showed them to you a couple weeks ago, the anarcho-nationalists?
I probably tried to block it out of my brain because it annoyed me so much.
You don't remember this at all?
No. The
Should I
anarcho-nationalists?
yeah.
No.
Should I like derail the stream for the next 3 hours?
No,
No.
we're wrapping up here, so we're just going to
Oh,
read
is this
some
the
super
end?
chats. Yeah, we're going to read some super chats and log off.
Oh, okay.
This was a short stream today.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh my god.
We're streaming again tomorrow, so look, I got to
We
get.
don't
What?
really like
Jesus
to
Christ, you are streaming every day now.
We don't really
That's
like
the
to
plan,
talk to
isn't
you,
it?
Dev, so we got to make it
Oh.
short.
Okay. All right.
That's
Well,
the
no,
real truth.
look, I enjoyed talking to you, Dev. I did. Don't
listen
great.
to him.
It's great having you on.
Yeah, we should do it again. It's always great.
I can't
Spencer Harmon for $20.
Dev's like, I just spent the first 2 hours talking about the weather, and now it's over.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna go. I thought that was like just the beginning.
No,
spent all this time talking about.
Whenever I'm like,
TF2.
man, remember when I was on your channel? We did the Xanderhal thing. I was here for like 12 hours. Like,
Yeah,
that's
we're
what I
watching
think
video,
of.
though.
That's
That's what I
Sunday
think of when I think of
though.
Adam and Sitch. Like, where do we just go?
That's Sunday.
That's the old Adam and Sitch. That's this is the new Adam and Sitch.
The new lazy. The new daily Adam and Sitch.
So this is like after you guys have sold out and you're doing. It's like we can just you don't got to go as hard as we used to. We can just fuck it. We're established now. We can just kind of laze around. And that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, no, it's because if we're gonna stream every day for like.
If we're gonna stream every day, we can't stream 10 hours a day. Come on.
Well, hold on. So that wasn't actually like a joke. You actually are gonna try that?
Yeah.
I thought you were joking.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like
No.
okay.
Yeah. We're gonna try. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, tomorrow will be our 4th day in a row. Look, are we gonna? I don't know that we. I guess we're technically. Are we doing 7 days a week? We never really talked about that.
We can take one day off. We can take Saturdays off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm just kind of
this
curious,
actually,
like how many days in a row we can stream.
So
we'll just find out. Yeah.
Like
this
if we
is
could go
excellent...
60 days or 100 days
Mm-hmm.
or 300 days, it becomes a challenge, right?
Right.
This is a new Sitch and Adam mark, right?
True.
Yeah. How many days can Sitch go without getting food poisoning or Adam having a stroke?
I don't think either of those are going to be very good.
Right.
Unfortunately.
That's not great content.
So I just realized, this is actually an excellent opportunity for you guys to redistribute some of the views and subs and money you stole from me back to me.
Stole?
Because you know what you guys can do?
Earn through merit.
You guys can now, since you guys are ending like around this time, maybe a little bit later, you guys can raid me after this. That's great.
Sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We'd raid you if you're on. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Thank you so much, Grendel, for the 20 gifted memberships you just gave.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Welcome, new members.
Thank you. And for being a free will seeker for 11 months. Thank you. Spencer Harmon for $20 says, y'all driving me nuts. We literally just need to enforce the laws in the book. We don't need any new laws. The big difference between MAGA and Republicans, both Dems and Republicans don't want to fix anything. Well, so I've heard this argument a lot.
This is the meme argument, isn't it?
Well, maybe
what we were talking about earlier about the meme. Just enforce the laws on the books.
So
I've heard many laws.
I've heard this argument. I've heard this meme before about just enforce the laws in the books. Like, Spencer, if you can send me on Twitter the laws that you're talking about, I'll look at it, because my understanding of the situation, and I've never heard anyone provide any legal argument counter to this, is that the way the law is structured right now is that if someone comes across the border and they get apprehended by the Border Patrol, they just say, "Hey, I'm seeking asylum."
Yeah. It's like the magic incantation that brings the judge down.
Yeah, they bring a magic incantation. I'm seeking asylum. from the cartel or whatever, and that by saying that legally at that point, the Border Patrol has to, by the current laws that exist, Spencer, have to then put them through that very long process of having a hearing where the judge makes a determination. And while they're waiting for that, they don't have the authority to just deport them back to Mexico or whatever. And so that's why they have to go into some kind of kids in cages situation, or they get lost in the country situation. So my understanding of it is that that argument is completely 100% not true, and that the point of the new bill, or any new bill, would be to fix that problem with the asylum, seekers.
Right.
So, but if you have something counter to that, just let me know and show it to me because I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet.
What they should actually do is just shoot them.
There you go.
That's what they
If that
want. It's
that's
just,
what we
just
need to change the law to.
Yep. If anyone crosses the border illegally, they just get fed into the meat grinder. They go ass first into the wood chipper. That's
hmm
how it is.
Oh my.
Here's
Wow.
what you do. Okay, you build the
Wow.
wall. You build the wall, but there's like one hole in the wall, and it funnels directly into the grinder. And just come on in, guys.
How about we enlist them in the Ukrainian military? We can solve two problems at once.
Oh my god! Someone in the chat's like, "I agree with Dev, not joking."
So regarding the
So
yeah.
I've met like some right wing people who have been like, "Yeah, I just want if they keep trying this, I want them to be shot." And I'm like, guys, that's a bit much, isn't it? This isn't like it's not like they're murderers here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's illegal to cross the border, but this isn't a violent crime.
Right.
When
So
Biden gave his speech today, he did bring up the treaty situation. I noticed that specifically. I was like, it's treaty law that has us in this mess.
okay. So my understanding regarding the Remain in Mexico policy, because I actually did look into this a little bit yesterday and this morning, was that um, Trump had an agreement with Mexico, or Mexico had to make an agreement to do this. And part of the reason it went away is because Mexico no longer agreed to that policy. The Remain in Mexico policy was still essentially that when someone was making an asylum claim, they could still be, remain in Mexico until the hearing came into effect. And Mexico said that they're tired of it. And my
They're
understanding is that when it comes to deporting people, you don't have to have an agreement with the country if they're from that country. You can just deport them back to wherever their country of origin is. You don't need to have some kind of special agreement with that country. So,
Mexico was fine with it when they wanted the immigration for
right.
their economy, but now they're like, yeah, we're tired of it.
Right. AKA Batosai for $5 says, Sitch, the current law should be that they can't seek asylum unless they're at a port of entry. Yeah, I mean, that would be a fair compromise that I'd be in favor of. Sure, I'm not against that. Um, but that would be very different than the argument. I know that you're not saying it's kind of, but it's very different than the argument of saying that they just need to enforce the current laws that exist now, which I don't believe that's true at all.
Yeah, they
So,
can say the magic words at a port of entry, right?
right.
And they probably do.
Of course they do, yeah. But even then, even if it's at a port of entry, that wouldn't solve the problem on its own because you'd still just have like, shit bajillion people show up at the port of entry. They'd say the magic words. And then do they have to be housed in America somewhere until the hearing comes into effect? Like it would still be, you know, a problem, right? Because that'd still be a huge backlog of people. So that's why I said the only two solutions I think are to either A, you just have to have so many more immigration judges to just facilitate to speed this up, or you just have to basically create a new system where you either deny asylum outright, or you just say, hey, the border patrol officer on the scene is going to make some kind of snap judgment about whether you should get asylum or not. So
They have to be housed inside the wood chipper.
there you go. There you go. Well, no, so yeah, so yesterday we said the way it should work is that we keep the asylum claims, but if you get denied, you get crucified on the border as like a warning to others making false asylum claims. So how do you feel about that?
I feel nothing.
Okay,
Sounds pretty good.
there you go.
I was looking up why this asylum thing is a thing. Like, is it a quid pro quo for our citizens? Like, why is it so important that nations be forced to take asylum seekers?
I don't know. People are saying it's a treaty, but wouldn't make sense necessarily, because if it was just a treaty, then how could changing the law give this power in emergency situation, unless that technically does violate the treaty and we're basically would be challenging other countries to challenge us on it. I don't know the answer to that question. I know the torture thing is a treaty because I looked it up, but
United Nations 1951 Convention and the 1967 Protocol. Is that what you looked up?
I don't remember what it was called, but there was some international protocol on torture. But yeah, I mean, the asylum thing, that's why I said I'm in favor of just getting rid of it. Doesn't I mean, you can apply for
what's the
asylum, you just have to
downside?
do it in your own country.
It's a treaty, though. So I'm thinking, what's the downside? Like, are American citizens caught in war zones and they're like, I
Oh, I
need
see what you're saying,
asylum?
right.
And they're
Well,
like, haha, we got rid of that treaty. You're fucked.
well, that's a good question. Is like, say if there is a treaty that basically
Yeah.
forces us to grant asylum to people, what is the benefit that we're getting from the treaty? Why don't we just back out of the treaty?
Yeah,
I
no.
don't know the answer to that
Normally, when
question.
these treaties are negotiated, there's some benefit to American citizens. Otherwise, they don't make the treaty, right? It's like a
Right.
trade agreement or something. So we've got to be getting something out of this stupid law. What are we getting out of it?
Right.
Or just revoke the treaty. What is the goal? Oh, go ahead.
Says the Refugee Act of 1980, which was passed by Congress, incorporated into international law the right to seek asylum following atrocities of World War II. Yeah, but is that a treaty, or they just took elements of the treaty and put it in the law? It says the Refugee Act. So you'd have to look into what does the Refugee Act say specifically in America, and
Right.
why do we need it? So signed by President Jimmy Carter, old Jimbo.
Oh wow, there's the heart of the problem right there.
The act recognized
presidents.
There you go, Mr. P. You guys should have stayed on the peanut farm, right?
Yeah.
The act recognizes that it has been the historic policy of the United States to respond to the urgent needs of persons subject to persecution in their homeland, to provide assistance, asylum, and resettlement opportunities to admit refugees. The goal of the Refugee Act was to create a uniform procedure with which to provide these opportunities to refugees. The act amended the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 by defining a refugee as a person who is outside his or her country of residence or nationality and is unable or unwilling to return, unwilling to avail himself or herself of the protection of that country because of a persecution, of a well-founded fear of persecution on account of race, religion, nationality, membership in a political social group, or political opinion. This was necessary to guarantee the United States followed the definition used by the 1951 Refugee Convention so that American law was in line with international law. Okay, so there is some weird international law standard thing that we're getting sucked into.
Right. They're probably screwing us.
Right. Well, I mean, we can always change it and say, you know what? That was, just because we followed some law from 1950s or 1960s doesn't mean it makes sense in the year 2024.
Yeah, we changed our minds.
So, yeah, it's not going to work anymore.
Bucko.
Yep.
We're moving on up.
Yep. Well, I mean, hey, that's part of what this bill was going to do. It was going to give Border Patrol the ability to fucking just unilaterally dump people out of the country, but that gets transformed into an amnesty bill somehow, and here we are.
I think if they called it the Judge Dredd Border Protection Bill, I think it would the Republicans would have a lot tougher time saying no to it. What do you think?
You're right. That is what they should have called it. No, they should have called it the Catapult Illegal Bill. Okay.
Catapult Illegal Bill?
Yeah, Catapult the Illegals Bill. That would have got,
immediate return.
Yeah. Democrats are just really bad at branding, okay? They don't understand how to play the game.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, since you guys aren't going to be going for the next 18 hours like I thought you were,
look,
I should probably dip and go.
This is hilarious.
Wow.
This is hilarious. I'm only gonna stay 10 hours or 5 minutes.
I know. What is up with that?
Listen, It's the one thing I'll be an extremist on. Okay.
There's other super chats related to you, and I know you don't care about the immigration thing, but I'll
Oh
get to
no, 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 here's what I mean. Like I'll stick. If you have other super chats related to me, you can read them now.
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
stick around for those. But like,
Okay.
I was gonna skip dinner time with people,
I
but
see. I
I
understand.
probably since you're not going for like 18 hours, I probably shouldn't skip it. So
Okay. I mean, I was gonna say something mean about skipping
no, go
dinner.
ahead, do it. Say it. I'm gonna
Don't be
assume it's
mean.
related to the fact that I'm fat and eating. Is that it?
I mean, maybe you should be skipping dinner time, Dev.
What?
I don't
Oh
know.
my God.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. When are you gonna let Sammy G fix you? Okay, she's got all these like nutrition things that you should be doing.
Yeah.
Dev?
Maybe he doesn't want to be fixed. Look, he
Hello?
hung up on us.
Oh wait.
No, I'm still here. No,
Oh,
no.
what happened? You didn't answer the question.
You didn't ask a question.
Well, I said, when are you gonna let Sammy G fix you? She has all this nutrition
Oh,
advice that you're
oh,
supposed
I
to
thought you
follow.
said maybe you should let Sammy G. I
No,
thought it
when
was a
are you
statement.
going to let? Yeah.
Oh, okay. As soon as I get my artwork reparations, then I'll let her do it.
Oh, listen, there you go, Sammy. You just gotta listen, you should draw a picture of Dev losing weight on your
There we go.
program.
Yeah.
And then there you go. Then he'll listen. I like
Shouldn't
it.
she draw a picture of
Oh
him
God.
super fatter to inspire him to
I
this
remember
is
that
the
artwork that
future you.
Sammy drew that one artwork of me as a lolly and Sitch
Yes.
as like a big breasted girl.
Yes, I
Oh
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
good.
It's
damn.
true. That is the way it feels sometimes. The Stig for $20 says, speaking of games, did you guys hear about the rumors of Microsoft potentially leaving the console market? Also, A-Team supremacy. I
I
had
did
not
hear
heard
about
that.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I talked about that on Side Scrollers today, actually. So basically, there's a rumor that this is going to be the last generation of Microsoft Xbox consoles, and after this, they're only going to rely on Game Pass and the Xbox Store as an app on computers. No more
So
Oh,
consoles.
there
so it's all going to be
wow,
PC
okay.
gaming.
So
I
I guess
mean,
the PC versus console war is over.
well, this will be PlayStation,
And
but
Nintendo.
and Switch, yeah. But I mean, that is going to eventually be the future. I don't think we're there yet, but eventually there will be no more consoles. Will just be computers. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, I can I can repackage my take from earlier today, I guess. Where basically, like back in the day, if you look at like Super Nintendo or N64 or PlayStation 1, right? Like these systems, they all had significant differences between them. You couldn't easily port an N64 game to the PlayStation 1 or a Super Nintendo game to the Sega Genesis. You could do it, but you had to kind of remake the game because the hardware was like fundamentally different.
mhm.
But at this point, all the hardware is standardized, right? Like the PS5 is just a glorified PC. The Xbox Series X is just a glorified PC. So there's less reason for consoles to exist. Plus the fact that more people have computers nowadays, right? Like back in the day, no one had a family computer. By 2000s, they had a family computer. Now people just have computers because computers are everywhere now, right? So PC gaming is now much more popular. So the reason for a console to exist is no longer there.
Right.
Nintendo did something smart. They kind of restructured around and they said, well, we should make things that are not just consoles, right? So the Wii had like the motion control, the Switch has like the tablet dock thing. They've been experimenting with providing value other than just a beefy computer-like device that plays video games, right? Which
Right.
is why they've managed to survive. But Sony and Microsoft have been basically fighting a losing battle against computers. So I think the most maybe five or so years ago, I think Microsoft kind of changed their plan. They said, "Listen, we're going to have the Xbox Store, and the store will be an app, and we're going to compete directly with Steam instead of directly with Sony, and so you will have the Xbox Store on your computer. You can buy your games from us, and you can download them and play them. However, it'll have the bonus. There's one additional benefit, and that benefit is if you're poor and you can't afford a really good gaming computer, you can buy an Xbox Series X, which is much cheaper than a computer because everything is cross compatible and everything transfers over. So if you bought a game for PC, you can play it on your Xbox, and if you bought a game on your Xbox, you can play it on your PC.
Mhm.
So that was their ultimate game plan. It's like they want to get you into their ecosystem of buying games through their processor. The actual hardware, the actual Xbox itself is secondary. It's just for people who don't have a good enough PC to play the games, right?
Right.
So that's kind of that was their business model. But now we've reached a point where PCs are so ubiquitous, they don't need the hardware anymore. So now I think they're just going to move into being a Steam competitor, and that's going to be their next moves. While Sony is just left holding their dicks because they've done nothing for the past 10 years. And Nintendo's been like, they did the Switch, and now they have like a completely new market of like handheld gaming. So like they're safe, but Sony's kind of fucked.
Well, I mean, Nintendo's going to be screwed eventually because when everyone's using Apple Vision Pro strapped to their head, Switch is going to be pointless too. So that's just a matter of time, and all that stuff. But maybe they'll have their own. Yeah, because like no one would buy just a Nintendo, like a Nintendo VR only platform would be pointless because you just want a computer VR platform that would do everything.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
going to be
what
kind of
Nintendo
annoying if like Xbox now like competes with Steam, so there's going to be like, you can't like Steam loses a bunch of library games because now they have to be on the fucking Xbox. Like that's going to be obnoxious.
Yeah, we're already kind of moving in that direction though. Like a lot of the PlayStation's exclusives have moved over to Steam anyway. A lot of the upcoming Xbox exclusives are available on PC, but only on the Xbox Store. So that's kind of like the next like not console war, but like the next video game war is not going to be
Platform
about
war.
consoles. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
hate
platform war.
that shit. I
Yeah.
fucking
Well, the
hate that
next one
shit.
is not going to be console versus console. It's going to be like Steam type application because like
Yes.
Epic Games tried to do it, they failed. But Xbox might actually succeed, especially because Xbox has Game Pass, and Game Pass is an incredible value for people who don't have much money. Right? You get so many games, you have to keep them, but most of these games you're not going to play more than once anyway, so who cares? Like
Oh, is that
for
like you pay some amount and you get to rent games, like essentially
yeah,
for
I think
a
it's like
limited time?
$15 a month, and you get like hundreds of games. You can just play them whenever you want.
Yeah, it's a pretty good system for most people. Yeah.
And it's not like old games. New games come out on Game Pass as well. Like new
Sure,
releases
sure.
show up on there too.
Yeah.
I think fucking Starfield sucks, but like still, it was a big new release and it was on Game Pass day one. It's like, well, there you go. You don't got to buy it. You can just play it on Game Pass.
There you go. Anonymous Cow for $10 says, looking forward to the liberalism debate soon. Like I said before, if we will live to see a post-liberal future, we'll be lucky if it's closer to Sargon's vision than Vosh's vision. I mean, to me, I don't even know what Sargon's vision is, but maybe that's what we'll find out. So,
I think he's moving into like the post-liberal camp.
well,
What
he
does
is.
that
I don't know what I
mean?
don't know what that looks like in reality, right?
It's like
So,
the anti-democracy people. I'm like, pitch me your democracy alternative.
Here,
right.
let's TLDR. Okay.
This is what's
Post-liberalism
hilarious
refers to
about
an emergent body of political thought which rejects liberal views on market economics, globalization, and individualist views on society. Post-liberalism instead posits a communitarian worldview that promotes social solidarity, fraternal relations, and economic reciprocity.
fascism.
The 2023 book Regime Change Towards a Post-Liberal Future argues that liberalism should be replaced with a form of post-liberal conservatism that strives for the common good.
Oh, wow. The common good. I've never heard conservatives make fun of leftists
Yeah,
for talking
so
about the common good.
so post-liberalism in actuality, it seems to be conservatism without the religiosity.
Hmm.
I don't think
Okay.
that works.
Who knows? I mean, if your society is fundamentally a liberal one, then if you're a conservative in that society, you are also somewhat liberal, aren't you?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the religion is the mechanism that solidifies tradition, like the strongest. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll be an uphill battle.
I've read some of the post-liberal writers, and they seem to be very intelligent people with some pretty good critiques, but I
Sure they
still like
are.
things the way that they are, you know. Like I know Christopher Latch, he's very famous for saying that like the liberal focus on progress at all costs has not only brought social progress in terms of human rights and equality and freedom and things like this, but it's also brought economic progress, which has led to these these unleashed powers of production. But the downside of that, like the upside is that we have vast amounts of material wealth. The downside of that is that, well, jobs start being shipped overseas. Capitalism tends to break apart like traditional communal bonds because you no longer need to maintain relationships with your community if you can just buy everything online. Like there are some critiques here that I think are worth thinking
Right.
about.
I despise the word liberal so much that I try not to use it anymore. I try to use capitalist democracy because it's so confused and conflated between liberalism as a philosophy and like liberals in America. And so like when that
Yeah,
guy makes that comment about like liberals' obsession with progress, like you hear that, and if you're American, you're thinking of like left-wing progressives. But then the statement you said has nothing to do with that because it was actually the right-wing conservatives in America who were the ones that were shipping all the jobs overseas. It was not the left-wing bleeding heart liberal hippies. So,
that's all true.
right.
I think that there's a view amongst people who believe this sort of thing that it's like even if the right didn't do it, the left would have anyway. It was just a natural end result of progress.
Would that be wrong? Because so, like, when the jobs were being shipped overseas, it was the left who was kind of manifesting the labor unions, and they were the party of the labor unions still back in those days. And labor unions were violently against shipping the jobs overseas. So they were the ones really pushing against this stuff. And it was the right, which was the party at the time of like the business owners, the business class, that was like let them go overseas. And
I mean, yeah,
this was all
but
like
then
done
like
under Reagan, and that for some reason Reagan gets hailed for basically allowing the biggest globalization to happen in our lifetime.
that's all true. But like Clinton and Obama were still ultimately pro that sort of stuff anyway.
They were, but that's because the Democratic Party had to change to because labor lost so much power. The Democratic Party had to basically adopt the Republican values. This is part of why the whole Mencius Mobley dumb shit about Swin's left is completely false. The Democrats literally became a party that became more center right because of Ronald Reagan. You had Ronald Reagan
Mhm.
annihilated the Democrats in two elections so strongly, and George Bush Sr., his vice president, won so strongly that the Democrats basically had to abandon labor as a useful voter base and sort of adopt neoliberal right-wing economic principles in order to win an election. And that's what Bill Clinton did. And that's how Bill Clinton won. And
So
so that's what kind of shifted the entire Democratic Party to the right in America in the 90s.
this is all true, but Moldbug would simply say that Reagan was a left winger,
Okay, yeah, but that's because I know,
and that
right.
all of this is actually just swimming leftward anyway.
I listen, I get it, but that's because he's doing like the communist thing where like anyone that's not a communist is right wing. He's like anyone that's not like a monarchist is left wing. Like I get it, but most people
Yeah,
don't do
yeah.
that. So
Yeah, yeah, but basically, like the post liberals, they seem to look at all of the material prosperity that liberal society has brought us and says, hold on, there's downsides to this that we're not properly grappling with, and there's probably some truth to that.
mhm. And if there was a pause, it wasn't me doing a dramatic pause. I'm not actually plugged into my router, so my Wi-Fi creates little drops.
There's so you're saying that there's some downside, but you're not specifying what it is. Jeff.
Downside of
What
what?
what I mean, what the post liberals view as a downside?
Yeah, well, what is the downside?
They think that capitalism is corrosive to like family values. It's corrosive to communal bonds, that sort of thing. Like it basically it creates atomized individuals who have no real connections to the people around them or to their communities.
So the post liberals are
Oh my God,
anti-capitalist.
They're not anti-capitalist,
they
but
are.
well, hold on because
They fucking are.
like no because like Latch, for example, he really values like the artisan, the craftsman, right? Like he thinks that there should be an artisanal capitalism rather than a mechanized capitalism, where you still like buy and sell and trade, and all of capitalism's mechanisms are there, but the goods are primarily produced by like self-employed people. Like that was his ideal, right?
The
That's kind
Okay.
of, it's a bit wacky, but like I kind of see where he's going with it though, because like once everything became a corporation and you've massively outsourced all your production to these faceless institutions that you don't work in and you have no idea where anything comes from, and you just like buy the same bland nonsense from them as everyone else does, right?
Right.
As
He wants to
opposed to
get
the
rid of the
guy who
economies of scale.
as opposed to the guy who like builds things by hand and they're very intricate and they're very like high quality, you know what I mean? That's kind of his view of it.
Sure. Okay.
right, but this is okay. This is the problem because it's not capitalism. It's just efficiency. Humans have a huge bias towards efficiency that will never go away. And so anything that can be done more efficiently, people are going to gravitate towards doing that because everyone wants to kind of get on with their lives. And the idea that like capitalism is the thing here is fucking retarded. Because first of all, we had capitalism in many countries living under capitalism for like 300-400 fucking years before like woke shit came in and before the super individualism came in. So the idea that like, oh, well, the thing that happened in the last like 20, 30 years is because of capitalism that's been around for 400 years is like retarded.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. So Latch died in 94. So this isn't his argument, but
Right.
it is an argument that Latch would make about our current era, right? He would say, for example, in the past, um, you had to maintain a good relationship with your neighbor because you couldn't afford a ladder, but your neighbor had a ladder, and sometimes you have to go up onto the roof and fix your shingles. So you're friends with your neighbor. He gives you stuff. You give him stuff. It's not it's capitalistic because there's
That
still
is
exchange.
capitalistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's reciprocal though, right? It's like, okay, well, I'll help you, you help me,
Is that,
and
I don't think that's true
well,
though. I don't think
well,
that's why
well,
people were friends with their neighbors because they needed stuff from them.
um, I think that is partially true actually, because
I
I've talked to,
don't.
for example, I've talked to,
Capitalism definitely civilized people in this
yes,
by
yeah,
this
it did, right?
mechanism. Yeah.
There was a black guy I talked to at some point like a
But
year
there
ago. He said that basically like he grew up in a ghetto and you maintained good relationships with people living around you because nobody had anything, but you all like there was one guy on the street who would fix your car, and as long as you agreed to watch his kids, sometimes he'd fix your car for you. It was that kind of thing where
So,
where
right,
a community was built based on reciprocating economic exchanges.
right.
However, Latch would say in the modern era, you no longer need to be friends with your neighbor who owns a ladder because now you can buy a ladder off of Amazon for $50 and have it shipped to you in 2 days, and now you have your own. So now the opportunity to even have that community be built through this reciprocal economic activity, it's all destroyed and replaced with exchanges with a faceless corporation.
So I think that
democracy can pick up the slack, though. Just like you said, forming coalitions to get the leaders
Yep.
elected and
hmm
policy
Yeah.
okay.
prescriptions done. Go
See,
So
ahead,
see,
wait,
Sitch.
hold on,
I
hold
do
on,
I
hold
do agree
on,
with you, Adam.
let me
Well,
finish. Okay.
I just make it real quick though. See, because I agree with you,
No,
Adam. I agree with you, Adam. It's
no, I
just
don't
that
agree with you. I hate
okay,
you.
okay, okay, go
No,
ahead.
let
You
me
you don't
respond
you
to you.
disagree with me?
No,
Look,
I agree with you,
you're the
Adam.
one that
But
said capitalist democracy. It's
I
kind of
agree. I agree with you,
it's
Adam.
kind of
Okay,
cool that
I
that
do.
is
Let
a
me
thing.
respond to the whole thing about neighbors. Okay. I
Mm.
agree that in like certain situations, especially certain lower income situations, that is definitely true where people would have to like band together and be more neighborly in order to, kind of help with resources and everything like that. Okay, that is definitely true. But I think it's silly or untrue to say that that is like the factor here, or the primary factor, even the sole factor. When you look at upper middle class 1940s, 1950s suburban neighborhoods and, the white picket fence America, and all the kids would go out and they'd all play and all the neighbors would have garden parties with each other and everything. So all those things existed, even though people didn't like, it's not like, oh, they had to get the ladder from the neighbors or anything like that. I think people do just seek out communities. People want to be communal. People want to have friends. And I think what changed that was number one, just sort of the atomization of entertainment, where there's just so much entertainment. There's so many different things that people can use to entertain themselves. They don't actually have to go out and like talk to people to be entertained. They can just watch TV. They can just go on the internet. There's a million ways that you can find community now with people that don't physically live around you. And then also because the problem is that you had the crime wave in the 80s and 90s, which basically made everyone paranoid to let their children go out and play and to like actually interact with their neighbors because they thought that their neighbors were all going to kill them. And I think those two things are kind of what like split apart neighborhoods I mean, people still like interact with their neighbors, but from like the way it used to be.
I mean, that's interesting, but you
Hey,
mentioned
hey,
earlier that Reagan.
can't we also solve this problem, Dev, just by letting crime get out of control? Won't that make neighbors work together?
I mean,
Look,
I'm not sure about that,
I'm
but
serious because look, this is if Sargon really wants neighbors to be neighborly with one another, shouldn't we just abolish the police and let crime get out of control?
why would that do it?
Because
I don't
then you'd
understand
be
the logic
forced to
there.
interact with your neighbors, so people didn't come and rape and pillage your neighborhood.
So so you're talking about like community policing now?
Well, it's bizarre the kinds of things that you can think of to make people interact with one another, as if that's
Well,
as if
so
interacting with one another Being forced to interact with one another is the cool thing, the thing that you're trying to achieve.
Well, I think it's just the fact that like it's like you said, such that people want to be part of community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of mechanisms of community that seem to be gone now. And one of them was the reciprocal economic exchange of living close by and needing each other, right? Another one of them is probably religion, right? That seems to be gone.
Right.
Even though people don't like to hear this, another one of them is probably something that's ethnic, right? Where everyone in your area is the same ethnicity, you all have the same cultural practices. There's probably some unity that happens there that if you live in a multi-ethnic community, it's not there, right? So there's aspects that have existed in the past, and they have all gone away for different reasons, but they've all gone away. And now we're seeing the backlash of what it's like to actually not have a community, because everyone does want a community. I think you're right about that.
I like Sitch's answer better though, because it's basically people are interacting, not being forced to interact with one another. From the right wing perspective, it is there are these forces out there that are forcing you to interact with your neighbors. And Sitch is basically saying, no, people are interacting with their neighbors because they want to, because it's entertaining for them. And it's the withdrawing, it's the competition of other entertainments that have kind of lessened that impact.
I mean, yeah, but you do get to a point where those other entertainments aren't fulfilling you, and yet people are still alone, right? Like,
that's kind of the right wing argument, though.
Hold on, though. If it was just that, though, Adam, people would be like, cooming on Netflix and cooming on video games, and then like just all day being entertained, and then eventually they hit the point where, hey, this kind of sucks, and then they'd go outside and meet people, but they don't do that. They continue to just.
They go do something else on the internet or online or whatever. They go on Discord or they go on, Twitter.
Here, let me put it this way, right? So back in the day, I fell in love with
a stripper.
No. with poorly translated kung fu films, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason I discovered my love for those things was because when I was like 17, I had insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I was staying up all night just channel surfing at like 4 a.m. And the only thing on that was interesting was that. I was forced into that situation by circumstance.
Yes.
But like nowadays that would never happen, because who goes channel surfing at 4 a.m. anymore? You just put on Netflix, right? And
right.
This is, I think we've all heard this argument before, where like, because we have so many options available to us, we never have to leave our comfort zone. But leaving the comfort zone is where you find the good stuff. Sure. Yeah.
Right.
It's probably the same way with other people. You never have to meet anybody else anymore, but you should.
I agree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just saying that the reason for not having to meet people, I don't think is economics mostly. I think it's just interest level.
I think there's some economic forces at play there for sure. I think even when you said like the paranoia that came out of the crime wave, right? Well, I mean that the crime wave did happen after the Reaganomics like destroyed everything, which you mentioned earlier. So it seems like there was an economic component to what happened.
Yeah, I mean, sure, obviously, I don't disagree with that. But I'm just saying in terms of like the specific argument you were making about like people needed to basically use other people's stuff, and that's why that like neighborhood communities existed. I don't agree with that. I think that could have been an element of it, but I don't think that was like the primary thing.
I think that's definitely a strong part of it. Maybe not all of it, maybe not even most of it, but like a strong part of it, I think, is that there was economic incentives that brought communities together, and those have been replaced with interacting with corporations, and that's probably brought us some negative consequences.
And the right wants to bring back those economic incentives, right?
Well, the post-liberals do. That's their view of it.
So they want to make everyone's economic situation worse.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
That's not very persuasive to most people.
Well, and it adds this level of coercion that is just like, what? You're going to coerce people into being friends with their neighbors? I mean, a big reason why people have less relationships with their neighbors is because they want to have relationships with people that they have things in common with. And you rarely have people in your immediate vicinity that can match your likes and dislikes, as well as finding friends online, for instance.
Right.
I mean,
but I think
that's true, but that comes with a very obvious downside, though, right? Like the reason that we see the trans community, for example, it's not even a fucking community. Like where is the trans suburb? Doesn't exist, right? When you create a community out of people who only have shared interests, it becomes extremely insular. way more than previous communities, and that's where you get purity spiraling, and you get purity testing, and you get isolationism, you get
You get
radicalization.
Christianity, you get
Yep, happens
Islam,
with
you
yep.
get,
I know, seriously, it happens with all these things. Yes,
Judaism.
like all of these communities that are based on a shared ideology rather than some sort of practical need. That's where you get radicalization.
Yeah, but there has been a massive destruction of the homogenization of people's interest. Like back in the day when there was like five channels and just movies for entertainment and radio, like more people broadly liked all the same shit. So you could go to
Mhm.
your neighbor and you could talk about like
Star
I Love
Wars.
Lucy or
Yeah.
Star Wars or whatever, because like that's all that there existed. Like nowadays there's just so much entertainment that everyone can, as you were saying, Dev, everyone can kind of go into their own little sections of entertainment and then they can go online and they can be part of that community. So I could have a conversation with my neighbor now and I could have almost nothing to talk about, where like in the 1950s, maybe we would have a lot to talk about.
Well, sure, but I mean, I think that goes back to the post-liberal point where they say that we've achieved massive amounts of material wealth due to modern modes of production, but it hasn't really helped us in some ways. In fact, it might be part of why our culture is fractured and everyone is off in their own little silos, because
Yep.
we can make so much stuff now that we can actually afford to do that.
Yeah,
Why is
but
this a thing that the post liberals even desire? That's my thing. Like, why is it so important to them that everyone knows their neighbors?
because it's people who they feel like they don't have meaning in life and they're trying to find it by going to more traditional ways, and they're finding meaning, or they feel like they'd find meaning in tradition. And so therefore that's all this is stemming from, people not finding meaning and fulfillment in their life currently as it is.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
so
I think so. Yeah, and I mean,
and
there's something that maps onto reality here. You see people report like lower levels of happiness and
yeah, but
et
here,
cetera,
okay,
et
but
cetera. Talk about that a lot. Yeah.
here's my problem when people make these broad arguments about this. Okay. Have you ever talked to someone who like grew up in the 1950s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
You ever talk to an old person? You talk about
Mhm.
your mental health. What do they say? Like just
They
you say,
say,
oh, like, oh,
suck it
like,
up, you big
Yep.
pansy piece of
yes,
shit. I lived
exactly.
through the Depression, you fucking snowflake.
So there was an
I fought in
attitude,
World War One.
right? So there was an attitude for our grandparents,
Mhm.
who kind of people are like comparing this to, where the attitude was not only A, that you should just suck it up, but then B, it was actually like really dark and embarrassing to admit that you have any sort of like psychological problems or unhappiness.
Oh,
Okay. Like I
yeah.
remember you could be like around like your grandparents. You could take like a multivitamin. They're like, "Why are you taking multivitamin? Are you sick?" And like that idea is like so foreign to people nowadays. And the same thing, like nowadays it's the opposite. Nowadays people gain capital by saying, "Oh, I suffer from
Oh,
depression.
yeah.
I suffer from ADD. I suffer from whatever, mental instability or
I have
I
problem
think
I
it's
might
gone too
autism
have."
far the other way now.
disorder.
Actually,
Right. It's
I think
exactly
we
it.
should
It's
probably have a
gone
bit more shame. In fact.
exactly. We've gone completely 180 in the complete other direction, which the reason we went in the other direction was because the hippies started this because they were reacting to their parents. They were reactionary against their parents being so like closed-minded and so disgusted talking about like mental issues. And so if you're comparing our generation where everyone kind of like holds up mental illness as like a good thing, and then you compare it to the generation that were like so embarrassed to talk about mental illness, everyone pretended they didn't have it, to me, you're not going to have really good data to figure out whether people are getting overall happier or sadder to make
That's
these
so.
determinations.
Oh, that's such a great point. That's such a great point. Of course, no one had mental illness back then because they're all fucking hiding it.
Exactly. So, I mean, and also like you don't really blame them when back in those days, if you're unhappy, maybe they'd give you a fucking like, electroshock
Lobotomy.
therapy, right? Or lobotomy. Like you don't know if you really want to tell anyone if you're unhappy. It's kind of like
Yeah,
scary.
exactly. Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I buy these arguments like, oh, everyone's getting more unhappy. It's like, are they? Are they just fucking whining more about it? Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's possible that they're happier, but they're also far more sensitive, and so a minor
Yes.
like setback in life it just ruins them. When in fact, somebody who's more resilient might just shrug it off. It could
Well,
be that too.
actually, I'm glad you said that. I think that's actually the real issue here. And this is where I think a lot of the post-liberal people are completely way off because they're focusing on fulfillment, happiness. I don't think that is the issue. I think it's the height issue. And I forget the other guy who talked about this. It's people are way more sensitive. And we're not building a group of people and children to be resilient to psychological harms in the world, and that's really what's causing all this
My God.
problems.
I did a video a couple of days ago. I think it was actually yesterday. Fuck, I forget what videos I've done. Shit. Anyway, I did a video talking about like the people getting laid off from big tech. And there
Mhm.
was one woman who's like, man, I just like launched some projects at Discord. I've been working there for like 6 months. I need like a month off because of work trauma. I'm just like, what the fuck is work trauma? You mean working?
Right. Right.
Like, what the fuck is
No,
just
100%. And like, because like think about the argument. The argument is like, oh, people were happier like back in the day. It's like, really? You think people who like had to go fight in the trenches in World War One, or had to go like
Or Vietnam
fight,
even.
yeah,
Jeez.
in the beaches
yeah.
of Normandy, or had to go fight in the jungles of fucking Vietnam, and then came back to America? You think those people were happier? Like maybe they were happier because they were comparing their life now. If they didn't suffer from like horrible PTSD, maybe they were happier because everything else seemed better compared to that fucking awfulness. But it just doesn't make sense to me, like this idea, like, oh, everyone was so much happier, But then you combine that, where I think there is true and there is validity to this, is that I think, besides the fact that people have become less resilient, is that too much cultural pressure has been eroded by the left from kind of the standard mechanism of finding fulfillment via a family. And I think that is the only part that I agree with. Where like, yeah, most people, not everyone, but most people are going to be happy by just trying to find a significant other and starting a family. And you're going to find some sense of fulfillment that's just like a biological thing. And that erosion definitely has kind of like warped people's brains.
No, Sitch. Women find happiness through careers. Don't you know how this works?
Well,
Got to be a
I won't.
career
Okay.
woman.
Yeah. Well, you can
Man.
have a career and still have
Well,
a family. It's just very difficult for both parents to have a career and have children.
In this
So
well,
economic environment, that's very difficult.
I understand it's very difficult. Yeah. But that's part of why the birth rates are declining, because it's becoming more and more difficult to do that.
Yeah, but we
mhm.
should
So,
just eliminate all regulation and
oh, there you go.
eliminate all taxes, make the economic environment even worse for people so that they borrow their neighbor's ladder.
There you go.
I think that's actually the big one, though, Sitch, is like people aren't having kids. Most people would be much happier and feel more fulfilled if they had kids, and yet it's not happening. You keep hearing story after story after story of lonely people, reaching middle age. They're too old to have kids now, and they feel like they've just wasted their life. That's
Hmm.
becoming more and more common. I think
We have to be
like that's
careful, because it's not just having kids. Because like if you were to compare happiness between a lot of people that have kids and don't, the not having kids people are going to be happier because you're comparing like all the people that had kids too early. So, it's just its own bag of like awfulness, or can be an old bag of not awfulness for some people. Obviously, some people can make it work very well, but
yeah, that's that no that's all true too. Wait,
I'll
what's
listen.
that?
Let's try to get through it. Okay, we'll just read the super chats very quickly
Wait,
now.
wait, 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 hold on. Is that the sound of stop talking?
That's the wrap it up playing off. Let's
Oh
try to
no,
get through.
because because I have more things to say on this topic. There's so much more to talk about.
Do you?
Kind of,
All
yeah.
right. We'll invite you back. We're going to be streaming every day for the next 100 days.
Here's what we'll do.
Lurker.
We'll
Yeah.
work through all the posts. Here, give me like 5 minutes, and I'll do one more. Okay, and then I won't interrupt your outro anymore. Okay,
5 minutes?
5 minutes. It won't
That's
take me
an
very long to explain
eternity
this.
in stream
Yeah.
time, but
So when you mentioned Sitch, you mentioned like everyone kind of siloing off into their own areas of interest, right? And that's
Right.
something that modern production allows us to do, because we can make every type of show and every type of entertainment and every type of everything. So
Hmm.
you can there's no longer the downside of that is that there's no longer some sort of uniform culture that everyone can be a part of. Which
Right.
which is a unifying aspect, right? So that's probably where some of the fragmentation comes from. People feel disconnected from their society because their society no longer has any unifying elements. That seems like it's a problem that needs to be fixed.
Hmm.
Um, However, there's also the fact that these differences, whether or not anyone intentionally sets this up, because no one does, but these differences do lead to a hierarchy, right? Where some of these circles will be judged as greater or lesser than other circles.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm not really describing this that well, but basically, like as we silo off into more and more divided sub communities, there will
Hmm.
end up being a hierarchy of more and less valuable sub communities, because that's
Sure.
just how humans work,
Right.
right?
Okay. I
So
agree.
the argument that some of the post liberals make is that this actually increases social inequality because you're now recreating a different type of class system. And
Yeah.
the example given is that, like, back in the day, it sucked when women couldn't have careers, but you had like doctors and lawyers and bankers and like business people. They would marry their secretaries, right? And their secretaries would always have like a lesser status to them, but it would always be a high class male marrying a lower class female. And so
Hmm.
you ended up having family units that were more or less equal. However, now you have doctors marrying doctors because women can be doctors too now. So doctors marry doctors and lawyers marry lawyers and businessmen marry businesswomen. And so there's actually a lot less cross class dating and procreation. And now you have like secretaries marrying secretaries, and nurses marrying nurses, and people who are on the middle rungs or the lower rungs of an institution marrying across and not up or down. And so you end up now you've recreated a dynamic where you have much more inequality between family units as a result of leveling off, as a result of achieving gender equality between sexes.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But this is all things that we're just going to have to like move forward with as a culture and figure out ways to deal with.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, right? Like, so when I come to you talking about these different philosophies, I'm
Right.
not coming here to say these are amazing and we should do
No,
them.
I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm saying that, like, they have some bad prescriptions attached to them, but they have good critiques of our current society that we should consider.
Right. But that's so again, it's like it's funny because we were kind of talking about this, Adam. It's significantly easier to critique a movie or critique a
Yep.
philosophy than it is to make a good philosophy or make a good movie.
Yep.
Right? It's just kind of it's always easier to destroy than to create. And so the
Mhm.
problem is like, yeah, there's always problems in our society, and it's people can look at them and point them out, and that's fine, and that's good. But then they have very often like people say, "Oh, that's a good critique," so therefore their solution must also be good. When very often, in fact, their solution is like terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's
Like
pretty much always
raise
terrible. Yeah.
crime so everyone has to work together.
right.
That's why I brought that up. It's a bad solution.
Well, it's
Make
like
society worse and more unstable and more violent so that the good apples can come together and actually build something that is resilient. That's
so.
what you should do.
I feel like all post-liberal leftism is like communist collectivist nonsense when I hear people talk about it. And when I hear like a lot of the post-liberal right, all I hear is like it all boils down to that speech that Loki gives in Avengers 1. Do you remember like
No
the
idea.
where he's like, is it not the natural state of humans to be subjugated? The unspoken truth is that like the lure of freedom diminishes your life's joy. And like the whole thing is like, oh, like freedom is what actually fucks you over. And like this all this freedom of choice is the thing that's actually making your life bad. And like that's at the end of the day, that's like all the post-liberal right kind of devolves into that idea.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's probably some truth to that. You get like the idiot coomers who like live in their Funko Pop mountains. That can't be good for them.
of
But
course, but that's
but
How do
as
you
that's why I
know?
agree with you. Everything is about the golden meme.
yeah,
Golden mean, not meme. Golden mean,
the
trying to get to
golden
that middle.
meme.
Yeah, the golden meme of golden mean. You got to get to that middle point because anything in
Yeah.
excess is bad. You know, too much medicine is poison. So
Yep. Yep.
Lurker 9000 for $20 says, "Have y'all looked into post-liberalism? It's a growing ideology among the right, especially among the religious right. Shu's husband is a post-liberal. I think Sargon is
He
headed that way.
is.
Has Dev ever looked into it? It confuses me. He's looked into it pretty extensively, as we were just talking about.
Yes. So listen, if you want the most reasonable post-liberal writer, that is Professor Christopher Latch. All right.
There
We've
you go.
had we've
He's the
had
guy.
Shu's husband on too. So
Right,
He's a
yeah,
nice guy. Yeah. No, he is a post-liberal though.
eudaimonia.
right.
You can check it
Yep.
out.
Yep. He's actually the guy that introduced me to Latch, in fact.
There you go. Artemis Fowl for $20 says, "If a law can override the treaty, then executive order can do the same. Also, treaties cannot usurp the authority of the Constitution. President's foreigner rejection authority is constitutionally protected." Um, so I've heard that argument. I don't know the validity of that argument, but I've definitely heard that argument. I'd have to go read, and maybe I'll go do this. I want to read the Supreme Court's opinion on Trump versus Hawaii, which was the Muslim ban, to see how much authority the Supreme Court was arguing Trump had in doing those sorts of things, because that might answer that question, or at least what the current court's interpretation of that question is. So,
Uh, Chad is asking. It's Latch, Lasch.
there you go. Hentai OG Tay Toku 310 for $20 says, thank you. Says, hey guys, a bit off topic, but I recently watched that Razor Fist link in his bad video you mentioned, Sitch, and my God, it's so awful. I'm still recovering from it mentally. S-Class is the best class. Yeah, it's a really, really bad video. I've seen people who have done debunkings of it. It seems way, 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 way off. So yeah, it'll give you psychic damage if you watch it. So thanks so much, Mr. Ubercross, for the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you, Mr. Ubercross.
Yeah, welcome new members.
Thank you
and thanks,
so much.
Mr. Ubercross.
Right. Sitch, for Silver Camaro for $20 says, Sitch, the crime wave was in the 70s and went down in the 80s. Are you sure? I thought it went down in the 90s.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
crime waves?
Biden's crime bill that cracked down on it.
Yeah, maybe there are two different crime waves that we're talking about. Because I remember in Freakonomics, they were because I remember in college I read this whole thing that was about the broken windows in like the late 80s for New York to try to crack down on crime. So I don't know.
There was a situation where like pre-civil rights era, you had very low crime. Then after that, there was like a slow but building crime spike that like spiked in the 80s and peaked. And then the 90s crime bill brought it back down, but didn't bring it back down to the pre-civil rights era minimum, right? It's still high compared to that, but it's still much lower than it used to be.
Right.
So this is why a lot of right wingers are like, we have to repeal the civil rights bills and stuff because because like very clearly unshackling the blacks made them far worse.
Right. So I have heard that argument, and there's two big problems with that argument. The first is obviously it's always dumb to look at like a sole factor when obviously, as we talked about, that was also sort of leading up to the inflation crisis for workers, which led into globalization, which led into most people losing their jobs and jobs being shipped overseas and people not having as much money, number one. Number two, you always have to, whenever you look at a chart and it shows like, oh, look how low things were and look how high things are now, you always have to say, yeah, but what happens if we go back further in time? And I remember when I heard someone on the stream, I forget who it was, make that argument, I went back and I found a graph that showed the crime rates going all the way back to the 1900s. And it actually showed that that time period, the 60s, the like 50s, 60s, was actually a historic low in crime. And so people are comparing a historic low to like actually sort of the post 90s level was actually like the more normal level of crime in America for 100 years. And so that's kind of the problem.
What that means though, Sitch, is that when we oppressed them more, we had a historic low of crime. That sounds pretty good to me.
It doesn't. It means that from the 1900s to the 40s or 50s, crime was at the same rate. It was at the 1990 level. It was just that there, for some reason, maybe because it was post World War II or something, whatever, from like the kind of the 40s to 60s era, crime went down dramatically, and then it kind of spiked back up again in the 70s. So that's kind of the problem when you look at these graphs and you say, oh, look, there's like a big raise here. It's like, well, how do you know that the part that it was low, that wasn't something unusual going on? Well, you shouldn't assume that that was normal, right? So, bro moment for 13 months says, hey, boys, long time no see. Have you seen that Tucker's interviewing Putin? How likely is it to not be a fluff piece? I think it's most likely going to be a fluff piece, but we'll probably watch it and talk about it on stream, so we'll see.
Heck yeah, can't wait.
Joe Make for $5 says, it's not just entertainment. Things like sports and music have been isolated to specific major venues, like the destruction of small market sports. That's a good point. That is true. Dodoms for $5 says, thank you. Says, oh, sweet. There's a new Tribes game coming out soon. Maybe a hot take, but FPS with skill-based movement systems are better than all other FPS games. I agree with that.
Skill-based movement systems instead of just like tap some buttons and it moves?
Yeah, where like the actual movement of the character is like really important as opposed to just, WASD walking, strafing, kind of like standard stuff.
I get it.
Yeah. Well, so I like this.
Are we talking like Octodad?
Well, you could go with that, sure. But
did you play Octodad? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that game had some pretty wonky movement, but it was great.
That was very wonky movement. I don't think that would make for a good FPS though.
Can you fucking imagine?
I can't.
Four
Antelope,
players.
yeah,
One guy
exactly.
controls the leg, one guy controls the other
Oh
leg,
my
one
God.
guy controls the gun arm. Like, walk me into position, buddy.
Right. Octodad, if you guys haven't played, is where you have to control an octopus pretending to be a human, and the controls are very wonky because it's like you're an octopus.
Yeah,
That
it's
would
a
be
four.
fun for a FPS. Come on,
Yeah.
man. That'd be
It's a
amazing.
4-player game where each player controls a different limb
I
and
get
has to
the
like move the
gun. I
limbs.
get the
Yeah.
gun arm.
Antelope the Greek for $2 says we can't let them take the term liberal. It's just I it's not a
They've
question
already
of
got
letting
it,
them
man.
take
They've
it.
already
It's
got
just
it.
gone. The term is gone. It's just so useless at this point. It's unfortunate, but Joe the Make for $5 says would like a post-liberal situation that mirrors Starship Troopers from the book. You opt in the political power via service, but it's accessible to all. I don't agree with that, really. I mean, listen, I'm in favor of making everyone 2 years after high school either join the military or join some sort of social service government program where they have the kids going across the country doing work projects that no one else wants to do to build character and have people have a love of their country instilled in them. And I think everyone should be forced to do that. But I don't like the whole opt into political power via service model. I think that's kind of shitty. But that's a longer conversation for another day.
Let's do it. Extend the stream.
Sella for $5 says Mexico's agreement is needed because most migrants aren't from Mexico. That makes sense, Sella. Thank you. That's a good point. Grendel Levat for $10 says the problem isn't how the asylum categories are defined. It's all the people making knowingly insufficient applications based on non-qualifying categories just to get paroled into the US. Yeah, no, that's true. That's exactly it.
Yep.
But we don't really have a way to ferret out those people quickly without going through the whole hearing program. So that's true. Ginger Miss Prime for $5. Thank you. Says, listen to Attorney General Barr. Remain in Mexico is under threat of tariffs from Trump. Once that threat disappeared under Biden, so did the policy. Oh, interesting. Maybe that's the case. If so, like really stupid for Biden to engage in that behavior. TNS Tony for 13 months says, Sitch, you were just wrong about Dragon Ball. You can make a case about the anime being poop, but the manga has none of these problems and it's fantastic. You could be right. I've actually never read the manga of Dragon Ball Z. I should, but I've only seen the anime. So Stug for $2 says, does this mean this channel is Sitch Daily again? Wow, Stug
Basically.
remembers the ancient lore. Yes.
Yeah, I remember it too. Bring it back. Got to bring it back.
Bringing it back. It'll be Sitch and Adam Daily, maybe. Who knows? Grendel Vat for 11 months. Thank you. Anna, let's see. I read that one. You read that one, Dev. Quacker for 9 months says an hour and a half behind, but boy, I hope this is round 3 of Marvin Yarvin.
Oh, wow.
Nomad for $5 says the TF2 bizarre bargain sniper rifle is basically capitalism. Overwatch is cringe. Yeah, I tried to play Overwatch when it came out and I could never get into it. It seemed like it would be fun. I really liked the idea behind Tracer and her movement system. The thing that was annoying, and this is where Blizzard always fucks up, they make their game, it's going to sound really weird. Blizzard makes their team games too team dependent. Okay. And this was true because I also played Heroes of the Storm for a while. It's like very, very difficult to carry in Overwatch and in Heroes of the Storm if your teammates are bad. Because everything is very like rock, paper, scissors based. So if you're doing really well, someone can just switch to a class or do something to just counter you. And you kind of need your teammate to counter them. And if your teammate sucks, then you're not going to be able to accomplish that. So Fondue for $5 says, I disagree, Adam. I think most people make their opinions already and watch people to react the same as them. Quote, the take is good if I agree with it.
That could be happening. Sure.
Yeah, I think that is happening. Well, I think what happens is people are looking for people to trust to tell them what their opinion should be. So like with the immigration bill. So like basically the way that it happens is they say, okay, I'm watching someone on the left or the right. You know, I'm watching David Pakman or Tim Pool or Ben Shapiro or whatever, or, you know, Hasan. And if my intuitions line up with their intuitions, right? If they've said enough things in the past that I agree with, then when it comes to something I don't know yet, I'm going to trust their take on it and see. And whatever their take is, I'm just going to adopt it as my own because I trust them. So, which is what is very frustrating about people talking about the immigration bill, because it's like 99% of it is people just listening to like a handful of like delusional, deranged Twitter people, just say things that are not true and they trust them for some weird reason. And they just, I guess the meme becomes reality at that point. So,
Well, the immigration bill is a good example because it could, like, public opinion could go in either way depending upon what parts of the bill they latch onto.
right.
So, and they're definitely spinning it for political advantage over. But I don't necessarily know that the super chat lines up with that people have an intuition about this 370-page bill, right? They don't. They're basically being fed their position
No,
on
no,
it.
no. Yeah, yeah. So I think people have an intuition about something. People have an intuition about something they already agree with or know. And then they find a creator who's saying something along those lines.
Yeah,
And
that
then when that
caters to their
lines up,
intuition. Yeah.
right, then when their intuitions line up with that person, then they'll enter the thing that you're talking about. Or then if there's something they don't know about, they'll listen to them and trust them and their take on the issue.
Right. Yeah. But
I think that's the process.
there is media that's more like the example I set up was something that's more neutral. People want to have some extreme position on. They want a clearly defined position on something. Like this is the big thing with Barbie. Why everyone got in a huge. Is it woke or not?
Right.
Yeah.
Doggo Design for JR says also Dev needs to do the trucker video or no balls.
Oh shit.
No balls.
I guess I
This
have
is
no
such
balls.
old news. Like why?
No,
Who cares about some trucker video?
I know.
Well,
It's just a meme
my
now.
my channel at this point is just whatever Dev feels like doing. So I'll talk about old stories. I don't mind.
There you
I still
go.
get views on. I'm at the point where I think my audience is loyal enough that if I can do an old video on an old story and still get like decent views on it. So
Well,
that's
that's
pretty
good.
good.
Then it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Schnitzel from Chowder, look at that for $2. Robble Robble says Dev, make Dagoth your co-host.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Why?
Majin for $5 says if Dev gets a femboy who does thirst traps, I'd super chat him. That's funny.
All right. I'll work on it. I have a few candidates already.
Artemis Fowl for
Wow.
$10 says, quote, the goal of socialism is communism. Dev, you claim we can just stop slippery slopes by rejecting next step. Sargon and Arch just have a different spot. They decide to cut it off. Same argument.
I mean, possibly, yeah. Like here's the thing when we're talking about pipelines and how some ideologies naturally morph into others, given like it has like an easy weakness, right? Like you can you can reject the slippery slope by just arbitrarily saying, okay, everything up to this point is good, everything beyond this point is bad. And if you appeal to some sort of sameness between the two of them, the arbitrary nature of what you want is what you kind of have to fall back on, right?
Right.
That's true, right? It's just it's not a satisfying answer for people because they want something that is like that is
Definitive.
intellectually consistent, you know?
Right. So the slippery slope fallacy, and the reason I think it's kind of dumb, at least in the context that we're talking about here, is because Artemis, what you're saying is true. And it's like, yeah, Sargon Arch just have, well, I don't know Arch, but Sargon just has a different cutoff point where he says, oh, we have up until this point. And then, anything past that is communism. And then, Dev or me or Adam are saying, no, 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 it goes further up until communism. But that shows why slippery slope doesn't work as an argument because everyone's just doing the same thing. They're just choosing a different part of the spectrum because everything in life exists on a sliding scale spectrum of, between two different ideas, freedom and, not freedom, right?
Yep.
So you can do that with anything. And if you can do that with anything, then it means that the idea itself doesn't really work very well. So it's kind of like a build off of Sordy's fallacy. The whole like, oh, it was funny because I was just playing God of War 4. They're talking about like this idea where, you know, there was a bet, I think it was between like Loki or someone and two trolls. And they're like, oh, you can cut off my head. Um, if I lose this bet, you can cut off my head. And he loses the bet. And he says, okay, you can cut off my head, but you can't get any part of my neck. And so they could never cut off his head because they could never figure out where the exact part of his neck ended and where his head began. It's kind of like, well,
Why didn't they just cut his head in half?
because that wasn't the bet.
Oh.
That was they could take his head, not cut it in half. So,
Oh, okay.
so just
So
kind of the
with
same thing, but anyway.
with that, I do actually have to go now.
Okay.
It is the
Take
end.
care.
Anyway, thanks for having me on
Bye.
again. It's always fun to show up.
Take care,
If
man.
if you actually are streaming more often, let me know. I'll come on again if you want me.
Okay.
Nice. It's always
Open
fun
our
talking,
chat
Dev.
and needle us.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll do. Okay, see you guys later.
Take care.
Later.
Let's see. Read this one. Antelope the Greek for $2 says Sargon keeps communism to liberalism. There you go. Jonathan Smith for $10 says Arch is also a comedian, so he jokingly, hyperbolically describes things, and everyone who watches him or listens to him knows that he calls Dev a communist jokingly. Well, there you go. Charles Anderson for $5 says, I'm here because I heard you guys were discussing the devocracy in space rays. True. I'd hear it of Lady Columbia for $5 says Arch is based on Bleach Pill. I read that one. Antelope the Geek for $2 says liberal centrist supremacy. True and based. Even though the term is lost. I'm sorry, Antelope, but yeah, true and based. Listen, we're like mask off. We're like mask on enlightened centrists here, okay? But like whenever we talk to anyone else, we have to put the mask on and pretend something else. Because the term is so toxic. Seiki Jokes 451 for £5 says Dev, associate not with the Al Ghul inflected Coco Adam and the desert pygmy Sitch manipulating him. Their potato stench radiates off the screen. Wow. Terrible.
I don't know.
Terrible.
What is that potato thing?
I guess it's from Disco Elysium. So.
Oh.
Silver Camaro 78 for $2 says, you can steal me, blonde, from Dev. I simp and joke. There you go. And Artemis Fowl for $2 says, Dev is cringe. Wow. The Wooster for $5. Hey, Wooster says, you guys are being mean to Dev. Aristocracy is the end result of enlightened centrism, and you both are in denial about it in between monarchy and democracy. There you go. True.
So we're the aristocracy now?
We are. Damonless for 22 months. Thank you so much. Says, if you all do daily streams, would it be PSA Sitch and Adam daily? There you go. Going back to channel roots. I'm down. Thank you, Damonless.
Look at that.
Deplore. Jay for $5 says, Blunty Fly is a winner that doesn't need no social programs. That is untrue. Blunty Fly needs all the social programs because he's too busy doing blunts and not getting a real job.
That's 6 likes on that. That's a
there
impressive super chat.
It's disgusting. Blunty Fly is awful.
People like Blunty Fly, man. What are you going to do?
Purge them. Lives in Dev's wall specifically for $5 says, Dev secretly workshops the idea if aristocracy. He has a shrine to Metternich in his closet. I believe that to be true. So K for 6 months says DBZ is as popular as El Chavo del Octo here in Mexico. Also, DBZ is more story weak in the Majin arc than the rest of the series. Those are both true statements. I mean, Akira Toriyama is kind of tapped out during the Majin Buu arc, so I'd be my guess as to why that's happening. I still don't know why it's so popular in Mexico, but I mean, if something was that popular, it might as well be DBZ. I wish it was that level popular in America. That'd be kind of nice. Silver Camaro 78 for $2 says, love you, Dev. You and Sitch learned to use chopsticks. Kingslayer Damocles for $5 says, to be fair to Vosh, the officer took the baggie and other objects out of the driver's pocket and threw only the baggie into the passenger's compartment. There you go. But it shows you why you got to be cautious on doing breaking news stories and say, maybe this is what it looks like. Well, let's wait for more information. Especially when it comes to crime stories, you should always wait for more information, and people never want to.
Never
want to have a very
wait.
strong opinion, right?
Always get in. Set that narrative early before anyone else has a chance.
That happened with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
That happened with what was the police shooting that Kyle Rittenhouse stuff was all in reaction to.
That guy.
The guy that got shot in the back. He got shot in the back by the police. You know,
he got killed.
That happened with
away, even though
with George Floyd. It happens with like all the shootings essentially. So
of course, yeah.
Silver Camaro 788 for $2 says, A, hasn't been a week. B, hasn't been a week, Dev. B, yes, Giga Chad. There you go. Ralt of Givia for 8 months. Thank you. Says, Sitch, your Pirates of the Caribbean take was so bad. Wow. I was thinking about signing up at the A-Team booth. You're usually so media literate. Listen, if you like the pirate sequels, I can't help you. Okay, listen, you can still be in S class. We can just have little different opinions on pirates.
Yeah,
Okay, but
did you, I guess he must have not liked Pirates of the
no,
Caribbean.
I'm assuming he likes the pirate sequels a lot or something. But
Oh,
the first Pirates movie is really good, and then each one just gets progressively worse and worse after that. So
seems like a pretty moderate take.
I would say so. Relative Gibeah for $5 says, "Hey Dev, I just wanted you to know that everyone I met in your gonads was a lovely individual, and I hope they all find what they're looking for." Well, there you go. Listen, I'm gonna screenshot that and send it along to him just because I feel like it's important that Dev knows that information. Okay,
Of course, yeah.
so there you go.
Got to get those gonads checked.
Rico's around for 22 months says Jesus may have risen on the third day, but he never streamed 3 days in a row. That is true.
True.
Solid for $10 says, "I don't agree that people get used to abortion being banned in the South. It was banned in Ireland for over 100 years and they still voted to legalize it in 2018. You
Wow.
could be
Okay.
correct. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
Cameraman
women want
502
that.
for $5 says, "No, Dev, it's that the elite don't preach what they practice. They're fine with having kids out of wedlock, but they never have kids like that." Okay.
Yeah, they have bastards.
Bastard Jon Snow.
That's
Moondoggy
right.
for $5 says, "Hasan is the Suicide Squad Lex Luthor." I mean, accurate. That's true. The Real Hallucinator for $5 says, "It's like how all these progressive women go around saying ACAB and abolish the police because they haven't faced physical danger." That is true. The Real Hallucinator for another $5 says, "Polyamory is great. Poly is great. If you have people you can trust, change my mind. Also, yes, no children in poly relate, and also yes, comma, no children in poly relationships." There you go. Mr. TB for 5 Canadian says, "Ask Dev where the goddamn trucker video is at, or at least give us a time frame. We've been waiting for years, man. Love you though." Well, there you go. We talked about that a
The
lot.
trucker video.
The
Wow.
trucker video. Everyone wants the trucker video. I read that one. Go He Mag for 18 months says, "Your reaction to the border bill versus Tim Pool's meltdown about it makes me worried that his audience is so much larger than yours." Yeah, so I only could watch like 5 minutes of it and I turned it off because I was just like, it was just too
I did.
emotionally draining to listen to that meltdown. I
We
just was
did
like,
both
oh my
laugh at the
God.
title immediately.
Yeah, Adam sent me
That's
the
the
time,
title.
like the clip, and I saw the title, and I just went, "Oh my God, I'm not even
The
surprised."
title is
So,
so insane.
right.
GOP betrayed voters with fake border security
I
bill.
was like, "Oh my God." So obnoxious. Which, by
Yeah.
the way, even if you agree with the narrative that the bill is like evil, it seems like almost all the GOP is against the bill now because of the narrative. So how is that the GOP betraying anyone?
They
I feel
tried to
like that title
sneak
doesn't
it.
make sense on like any level. So,
They tried to sneak it past them.
oh, okay. Okay. Rosie McRose for $5 says, "Dev should talk to Cinematic Venom about his history with Channel Awesome." Oh, I'll let Dev know that. I'll send that forward. I used to love Channel Awesome. It's too bad they kind of faded
Went
away.
woke.
They weren't really woke. I mean, even though they really became popular, like originally for the Obama Girl video, but they were never really political. Even though it was funny because
Okay.
they were called. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the wrong. I'm
Didn't
thinking of Barely
Lindsay?
Political. I'm not thinking. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the wrong fucking channel. Never mind.
Didn't
Fuck Channel Awesome.
yeah? Didn't Lindsay? Oh fuck! What's her name? She
That's
came
this.
out
Yeah,
of
Lindsay
Channel
Ellis.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Lindsay Ellis. Yeah,
yeah,
she's woke as fuck.
yeah. No, I'm sorry. For some reason I was confusing Barely Political with Channel Awesome. I don't know why, but um. Cameraman 502 for $5 says, "Why can't the Republicans just take the W?" Well, it wouldn't be. That's the thing is it wouldn't be a W. It'd be a W for Biden, or at least it would be perceived to be a W for Biden. Like the Republicans could now, the Republicans could run off, or not run, but they could make the statement that the only reason that they got the Democrats to pass the border bill is because they did the tactic of shipping immigrants to blue states and blue cities, which I think is true, and they could take it as a win that way. But people have very, very short-term memories, much more short term than even my memory. And so by the time the election rolls around, people will forget about that. And so it makes more sense, at least from a purely electoral perspective and from Trump's perspective, that you'd want to keep the immigration issue like to be really fucked up until the election. So
And like Biden is going to spin it as some kind of bipartisan win, and how he's like the
the
king
deal
of
maker.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
That's a
conciliatory
good point.
president. Yeah.
Right. That's a good point. So, I mean, just think about it this way. Is there any border bill that the Democrats and Republicans could work together to pass that Trump would sit there and say is good? Like, why would he ever say that? It completely goes against everything that would help him for him to sit there and say it was a good deal, no matter what it was,
This
right?
is why politics is a dirty, dirty, dirty
Exactly.
business.
Exactly.
Because there's absolutely nothing. There's no incentive for them to do
fix
this
certain
before the
things.
election.
Yeah.
And then guess what? After the election, there's absolutely no incentive for Democrats to work with Trump.
Yeah. It's true.
Oh God, we're in
It's bad.
Yeah.
Silver Camaro for 78 for $2 says Shadow Man reeks of Al Ghul. He can't even use chopsticks. There you go. True.
All
Okay, let
right.
me go bottom.
You always do the go up thing in it.
I know it
Like,
fucks
wow.
your dyslexic
I know.
head.
I'm like, what the fuck? I finally find the super chat that you just read. And then I go down to the next one and you went up.
I know. I was reading them backwards. Fondue for $5 says Sitch. How about making JROTC a mandatory elective to start? I don't know enough about the JRTC program to have an opinion on that, but I mean, that's an idea. Jay for $5 says, long live Jointy Fly.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Everyone loves Jointy Fly.
Yeah, people are saying it's not even a blunt, it's a joint. So you're like wrong, Adam.
Read the super chat. There's a super chat about that, right? Or did you miss that?
Oh, I'm not there yet.
Oh, you're going up again?
Loops, I'm going down. No, I'm going the correct order now.
No, you passed it up.
No,
I'm going. If you did long live Jointy Fly, look.
That's above it. I'm going down.
Did you already read the Jointy Fly one?
Okay, let me explain to you something. This is the process. This is how it works. Okay. Sometimes when we're reading super chats, like some of them, so it's all out of order, what I do is when I get to the end, I'll look at the bottom and I'll start reading it and I'll read all the way back upwards, backwards from the top. But then by the time I get to the top, new super chats have come in. Okay?
No, I get that. Yeah.
Right. So then I go to wherever I stopped or wherever I started, and then I start reading normally back downward again. I don't read backwards continuing. Okay.
But Ronaldo gave you it for $5. I hate to inform you, Adam. Did you read that one?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one from PLO to PL, who said for $2 says knock against Blunty. It's a joint, not a blunt. That's not the one you're talking about.
No.
You're talking about Revolt of Givea. Oh, which I missed.
Okay, you missed it. Exactly.
I missed it.
That's what I look. I understand the system here. I get the system.
I'm such a fucking retard. Revolt of Givea for $5. Thank you. Says, I hate to inform you, Adam, but Blunty Fly is actually Jointy Fly. Blunts are wrapped in cigar paper and Flies is clearly wrapped in cigarette paper. So there you go.
I know. Yes. But look, blunt just sounds better.
It does.
Yeah. It
does.
You want me to make the paper brown?
I don't know. We'll see what it looks like. It probably looked dumber.
Looks pretty good.
I mean, the whole thing looks like shit, but
the animation is great. He's just like, he's been taking this hit for like 5 days now.
It makes it look like I'm smoking a fly who's smoking a joint. That's what it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Lucy Lumbug, thanks so much for the 5. Get the memberships despite being a dirty, dirty sticker. Yeah. Blaine the Skateboarder for $5 says, if you're doing daily streams, when are we talking anime? This is the season of the hot mommy. The metallic rogue feels right up Adam's alley.
Yeah, we got to work that out. I guess we're going to, one day a week, we're going to do a stream so I guess we aren't streaming on this channel every day.
What do you mean?
We were talking about streaming, doing a media channel and streaming about media on a separate channel, and we can't stream every day. I guess we stream politics on one channel and then stream on the next channel, but
I thought you wanted to do prepared content.
I do,
not streams.
I want to do that too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll do this. See what happens.
Exactly what's going on.
Antelope the Greek for $1 for $2. Sorry, it says, which video did you react to Tim Pool? We didn't react to it publicly. We were just watching. I watched 5 minutes of Tim Pool's. I don't know if it was his video yesterday or the day before yesterday. It was whenever the immigration bill came out.
It was yesterday,
and he was reacting to it, and I was just like, it drained. There's too psychically draining for me to to make it more than 5 minutes in the video. So
Yes. Definitely helping the Republicans immensely who don't want to vote for it.
Yes.
Even though he called them fakers and
right. Dr. Dealer for $2 says Hasan is a pure embodiment of everything socialists are supposed to hate, but don't because socialists are generally unintelligent. True. It's okay for $2 says we got to get Adam to watch Meet the X videos for the classes in TF2. Quite fun and a blast to watch them. That is true. If you're ever bored at him on YouTube, you can go type in like meet the spy or meet the medic. And there's all these like Valve is very smart and they made all these like really funny videos about the characters in TF2.
Yeah.
That you would probably like. So.
I've seen those.
Oh, you have seen those?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
They're great.
Very funny. Dr. Dealer for $2 says finishing up the narrow corridor today. Look at that. There's a section about how Hayek was wrong about England becoming authoritarian because of the government building power post-World War II. Rings kind of hollow with their draconian speech laws, LOL. Well, that's true, but I guess he was not talking about in terms of wokeness. He's talking about in terms of like authoritarian becoming the king again, I guess. But good on you for finishing up the narrow corridor. What?
The IJP Mexican.
What do you say?
Adam, when are you getting the Blunty Fly comic mini-series?
Oh my God.
Don't let Sitch get rid of him. S-Class is best class, though.
Oh my God. IJP, why do you hate me so?
When,
Why do you hate me so? Dr. Diller for $2 says liberal capitalism has given people infinite avenues for self-organization without direction from the state. So the post-liberals invented a state that does it rather than a new reason to organize. Wow. True. Because, yeah, that's why I said, like, it all kind of boils down to freedom is the lie that we're telling ourselves. Because there's always this idea that when people have freedom, they just choose essentially to make bad decisions. So you need some kind of external force, which obviously, culture isn't going to manifest on its own. So obviously the state needs to come in and basically enforce the correct culture on people to get them to do the correct thing. And this is why, when we were having a conversation with Carl about this last year, remember we had that last conversation, it's like, I don't know why you'd expect this to work when all the elites have been basically taken over by wokeness. So why would you think the elites in your system would not be woke? They'd all just be culturally enforcing their wokeness on all of us. So. Andrew Clark for $2 says, hi, guys. It's been a while. Hey, Andrew. When you have the time and are so inclined, I'd like to talk to you about liberalism and post-liberalism. I've continued my dive on the subject, such as Lash was an ex-Marxist and never a liberal. Oh, maybe that's interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I like the topic.
Rex Vectum for $10 says, what are the benefit packages provided by S-Class and A-Team, respectively?
Well, A-Team gives 10x on free will, so.
Yeah, but that free will is sourced from, Chinese children working in sweatshops, where mine is organically grown.
That's like fake news. There's no such thing. Look into how organic products are packaged, and you'll realize that it's all just
mine was 100% organic, free range, ethically, humanely sourced free will. And Adam's
that's all just marketing.
Scrapped from the backs of children working in Chinese mines to build phones. Okay.
It's exactly the same free will.
You might be like, why exactly do the Chinese put children in the mines to build the phones? And that's a good question that we don't really have an answer to, except that the children, in fact, yearn for the mines. They find that they work better building phones in mines than outside. So
I consider giving Blunty Fly chopsticks for extra fun. Doug says for $2.
Thank you, Doug.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Thank
chopsticks. You. All right, we made it.
So since me and Adam are going to be streaming a little bit every day, if you guys have an article that's like the daily article that everyone's talking about, or daily story, whatever, just make sure to send to us on Twitter or on YouTube or something, and maybe we'll talk about it that day.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Bye-bye.
Are we just saying bye-bye? We're not doing the big, long extra?
No, of course not. Come on.
See you tomorrow, bitches!
There you go. Bye!